Back again, and it feels so good. It's Golden Truths, an Umineko podcast, a podcast about Umineko. Episode 5 of this podcast we're all doing. I am Jennifer Booher, host and witch of communication, joined, as always, by my wonderful co-cast of Annabelle Barsky.
Hi, I'm recording this episode from a podcast. Nope. Let me try that again.
Damn, Annabelle Barsky.
No, wait.
Annabelle Barsky.
Hi, I'm recording this podcast from a closet, thus cosplaying Natsuhi.
Fully assuming your assigned kin from last episode, which was definitely recorded very recently and not 6 months ago.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, just yesterday. Caelum O'Leary Codair.
I have so many things to say about this episode. I'm so excited. I've been so excited for the whole 12 hours between the last episode recording and this one.
This is what it's all fucking been leading up to until the next episode.
I have been on the edge of my seat ready for this podcast recording.
Isabelle Valant.
Hi, I'm Izzy, and just so you know, this is the worst episode. There's almost no Maria.
Always the dissident, Izzy is.
No,
I'm
I
glad
agree.
to see you in top form. And Matthew Winter, unfortunately, was being hunted by the ultimate witch of all, the American housing market, and so is unable to join us this episode, but we'll all be summoning a fragment of Matt inside of us.
See, when you had paused after saying his last name, I thought you were expecting one of us to, pretend to be Matt.
You could have
done it.
You missed your chance.
I'm sorry, I thought it'd be disrespectful.
Yeah, everyone please hold a lot of respect for Matt. Matt hopefully will be back with us next episode. You know, there's a lot. There's a fucking... The world, all of it, you know how it is. But we four are here, and we're here to talk about Umineko, which is something that we do, again, very regularly, and not with a half a year gap in between one episode and, say, the next one at the start of the Answer Arcs. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, nothing has changed about me at all. It's been almost no time.
Yeah, I have not moved from this seat.
I'm a rock.
Well, great
All right,
start, everybody.
No more goofs. We want to get right into it.
Yeah, we are all eager.
Okay, well then let's hurry along. I will close out this little intro segment by saying, if you did not catch my little housekeeping episode, I want to give a big thanks again to the When We Cry podcast for having me and Caelum and Matt over to talk about gender on their podcast, which you can find by searching When We Cry Pod in your podcast application of choice, or on YouTube. When We Cry Podcast will get you there. It was a lot of fun, and in this episode, we can start to peel back the layers on that spoiler episode.
I'm so scared of whatever you said in that episode that I did not listen to.
Haha,
I don't want to find out. That's a lie. I really want to find out.
I'm ready for, in the next 3 episodes, to contradict everything I said in that episode, because that's just how it is. All right, great. If everybody's ready, we will zoom on in to the end of the Golden Witch.
I'm so ready.
End me.
Well, I thought we have to start at the beginning.
You can't fucking... I have to say that, Izzy. Izzy, why would you do this to me?
Oh, I didn't realize that was
Izzy
the beginning of it.
McGrow.
No.
We can cut this out.
It's everything that we've recorded so far is being cut out. Welcome to Golden... No.
Start over.
End of the Golden Witch, released originally on August 15th, 2009 at Comiket 76, and released officially worldwide November 17th, 2017, as a part of the full Answer Arcs release. End of the Golden Witch begins at the ending, when Battler abjures a new Beatriceless 5th game led by Voyager witches Lambda Delta and Burncastle. He returns at the very last second to find his Aunt Natsuhi fingered as the true culprit of the crimes by new piece Burncastle lookalike and great detective Erika Furudo. What follows is a full replay of the game's events and backstory, including Natsuhi's decision to fake Kinzo's life after discovering him dead in his study, her blackmailing by the mysterious man from 19 years ago, and the arrival of Erika Furudo onto the game board on October 4th, 1986. Erika summarily runs a train on the mysteries she is presented with, solving the epitaph on the first night with the help of Peace Battler, and revels in her new mystery first, feelings last playstyle, much to player Battler's chagrin. Meanwhile, on the witch's side, Natsuhi attempts to work with Peace Beatrice to conceal Kinzo's death and follow the instructions of the man from 19 years ago, instructions that seem to exist chiefly to frame her for the epitaph murders. Erika, with the help of the living embodiment of mystery, Delanor A. Knox, corners Natsuhi just after the second twilight, and advances time to the final minute of the final day to prove Natsuhi's guilt for this and all of the game's murders. Battler, finally caught up to the present, fails to find a new truth to counter Erika's and is plunged into the depths of oblivion, dying fighting for Beatrice's game. Beatrice, a barely living doll after the events of Alliance, finds Battler's corpse and, having lost her reason to exist, finally dies as well. Just as Battler, having reached the final truth about Beatrice in his own purgatory, revives. Tears in his eyes, Battler asserts a new theory with himself as the culprit of the fifth game, reestablishes the cat box, and challenges Erika to a final match to prove his position as the new endless sorcerer and the true inheritor of Beatrice's game. What did everybody think about End of the Golden Witch?
Wait, first everybody has to clap for Jenn.
Yay.
Oh, you're not going to be able to hear it, but it'll be on the recording.
I am clapping.
I hear it. Yeah, the applause I've edited into this is drowning everything else out.
Yeah, just summon a few goats to help with the applause.
Literally, it's all goat.
Me and all of my friends.
What did you think about End of the Golden Witch?
I liked
Literally,
it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I loved it, and I also hated it. And not just because of the goofy goof, oh, Maria didn't speak. Like, I had issues with it. It was not as... There were parts of it that weren't as fun to me.
It definitely goes in directions that the other episodes did not go in.
This story has content in it.
Yeah, there is content in it. Things happen, much to everyone's dismay.
This was the first episode where I left it not feeling like my soul had been sucked out of me, which I think means by default it's like my least favorite, but it's a very slight least favorite. I mean, there's a ton of just amazing shit that happens in here still, and also it's about Natsuhi, so like, you all
Yeah,
know.
of course. It is a very, very good episode if you like Natsuhi.
The mom's so good they brought her back around for a second time.
For a second punishment, yay! The joys of her.
Yeah, End is so interesting as, like, here we are in the answer arcs, in the scattering arcs, the fucking all that shit I already said at the end of whatever the last episode we did was. And it's really interesting because I think it gives you, or rather it sets up Umineko's approach to the concept of answers, I think, really well, because it's not so much about, I mean, you do get some answers, but the answers you get are answers about context, are answers about, well, what has been happening this whole time, and not so much. At no point during this episode does Virgilia walk out on stage and say, here's how the fifth twilight of the third game was committed. But you do get so many more tools and so many more ways to begin to poke and prod at all of the games that have happened before, and even this one.
And I would say that this episode is about answering too, right? Like that the whole like back half of it is about how ultimately whatever conclusion people come to that overrides the rest of them may not necessarily be the true one. Like that this is a cat box, right? So this is about answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the way I was looking at this one is like 1 through 4 all teach me, like us. They teach me exclusively what's going on in the plot, and like on the game board they give you all the information. Episode 5 is the first one where they teach you how to solve it, and by the way it's being hinted at, it seems like episode 6 is like where they solve it for you if you haven't done it at that point. So I appreciated them like gently showing you like, here's how to make a solution, here's what creating a solution looks like, and here's some ways that you have to consider it if you haven't already figured these angles out, which I think we as a podcast have done a great job about, and I'm excited to talk about all that because we've pretty much kicked ass out here.
After hearing Ryukishi07 literally beg to the audience through his characters to please go back and try thinking again and don't just give up, I was like, okay, I guess I should go look again.
That touched me. I was touched by that. I think that was sweet that he literally just put it all on the line. He's like, fuck, please enjoy my book. Please. You have to play it to enjoy it. Fine, we'll play.
Yeah, Caelum, I think the way you put it so succinctly is actually really, really useful, that the answer arcs aren't so much about providing answers as they are like stories, or this episode, and I think you will see that this continues through the rest of them, that this is a series of stories that are about the concept of answering and what it is an answer and what does it mean to both come to an answer and can there be multiple answers, or all of that stuff. All of these questions are really core to what goes on in all the other episodes and this episode.
Yeah, it fucks so hard. Umineko is so good. I love this fucking novel so much. Holy shit. I love it so much.
Let's start talking about it, and let's start talking about it at the very beginning, which is the new opening, which I love.
Good. I will sing the song of how much I like Akiko Shikata and how much I love, the first opening. This one's also very good. Fantastic. They should have put Shikata in it.
I have this, theory, a philosophical theory about the nature of anime openings, which is that the first opening, generally speaking, is always going to be the iconic one and the best one for the overall tone of the story. But the second season opening has to there's a certain energy that is required of a second season opening where you're really getting into it, and the Witch of Occultics, which is the name of this new opening, and the whole fucking production of the characters sliding around on the screen and Erika's glowing blue sans eyes scraping through the blackness is it all works perfectly. It is the perfect season 2 back half of opening for Umineko because it gets you fucking pumped.
So good. I just watched it for fun.
It clearly gives an expectation, I guess, for a slight increase in production value, I guess.
Yeah,
because
totally.
Some of my favorite sprite animations I think are definitely from this episode.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
100%,
Absolutely.
yes.
So at the start of this game, how do I put this? Battler and the doll-like corpse of Beatrice, who is fully unresponsive or nearly fully unresponsive, are going over, Battler's sitting there going over and over and over the last 4 games, trying to understand Beatrice. This kind of goes back to what I was trying to point towards at the end of episode 4, which is that for Battler, it's not so much about crushing Beatrice as it is, about fulfilling Beatrice's wish to die, right? And then Burncastle and Lambda Delta fucking roll up and are like, this shit sucks. What the fuck are you doing? Let's crank it up in here. Let's do another game. I'll take care. Lambda Delta's like, I'll take care of it. It's my game board now. And this is going to be the fucking phrase of power for this fucking episode. This sets the stage for where this whole episode goes with regards to the game board is the most a game board it's ever been. We said that in episode 4, and now it goes to entirely new heights where the meta story of Battler and Beatrice and Burncastle and Lambda Delta and this story of the fantasy, even metaphor story is actually the thing that matters now. And the game board is just a place where games happen that allow you to understand what is happening in the meta world, I think.
I have a lot to say about this in a little while.
Yeah.
In this one, it's especially apparent with the humans. There's so much going on that we'll talk about with the pieces and player versus piece and witches versus humans. But the humans in this one are really just there's so little characterization, unless you're Natsuhi, unless you're Battler, kind of. And otherwise, they're just truly dead. So look out for that.
We got revealed the idea that effectively a piece wouldn't do something that the real version of them would do. So anything they did really is character building for that person, even if they didn't.
Yeah,
really do it.
But nobody is doing anything. None of the humans are doing anything. I feel in this game mostly.
That's true.
Yeah, they're pretty much just a accessory to the Erika Furudo show.
Yeah,
Erika.
no one has a character arc outside of Natsuhi, really, and everybody else really are kind of ciphers for their own personality. Kyrie doesn't we don't learn anything new about Kyrie necessarily. We don't learn anything new about Rudolph or even Ava, who is one of the humans that has the most focus outside of Natsuhi. We don't learn anything new about her. Even Rosa, when she gets invited to the sibling scheming session before the family conference of 86, and she has to pretend that she is mad at Maria so that she can cancel their trip to Delsneyland that they had planned. none of that's new. None of that like gives us new information about these characters, which I think like goes to show how much this is about like the
mystery and the gameplay, the mechanics, who are the players really.
We know everything we need to know about Rudolph and Hideyoshi and Kyrie and like all of these people, like for their parts, like their arcs, we know everything we need to know. Even the fact that this whole game, like we're not actually watching the game for most of it. We're watching this sort of like fucking VHS rewind replay of it, which like just further distances us from the action of the game board and puts us more in the shoes of the meta players, which we kind of already were. But this is the episode that begins to make explicit the lines between Battler as a person who is playing this game and Battler like as like a reader, in the way that we are readers and the way that we are confronting a tale that is something that is constructed towards something, and something that you perhaps could draw some kind of understanding out of, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Battler as the player of a mystery novel.
He's not even in that one. He's a cipher of himself. So we don't even have that viewpoint. So he truly is a reader, just like us.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he abandons his rights as the player until the very end of the game. Yeah, totally. So we do learn a little bit more about the backstory of the game. Now that we know that Kinzo is dead at the start time of all games, we get to see a little bit of that. We see Krauss and Natsuhi and like Genji and Nanjo and all of them discovering Kinzo's dead body in his study one morning, and how they all navigate that. It's really fun to see Krauss scramble for...
Oh god, it fucking killed me.
I don't know. I don't even know where to start with all this stuff.
This is such a revealing episode about Krauss.
We did learn a lot about that one.
We learned a lot about Krauss in this episode.
You know what? You're right. I blocked that out of my mind because he's dead to me.
Yeah, the Krauss is literally not only embezzling Kinzo's fortune, like not just like taking like cash out of his bank account or whatever, but Krauss has, for whatever cockamamie scheme he has that he swears will definitely pay off sometime in the near future, is he's signed over the power of attorney and the deed to the Ishiramiya mansion. So like these rich characters are literally like, to further like the themes of like unreality of the presentation versus the actuality of the hidden reality. Like literally these people are not rich. Literally they are living in a house that they do not own, in wealth that they do not possess. I think it's really fun how that metaphor gets like fully extended out to the material reality of these characters' lives at this point.
Krauss would start his own cryptocurrency.
Yeah, Krauss coin. Look for
Krauss
it.
coin.
Oh my god, he would do a cryptocurrency if he were alive in the modern era.
Yeah, to sort of like, the murders of 2016 instead of 1986.
God, can you imagine Natsuhi, you have to understand, this NFT that I own will surely appreciate in value. I only need 6 more months. And then I swear we will see returns beyond our wildest dreams.
Drag his ass.
They can just right click it and save
There's something here about the gold being minted NFTs. I'm not there to make this joke, but it exists.
Yeah, it's out there. I'm enjoying the idea of this joke very much.
Thank you. Please rotate it in your minds.
We also see Natsuhi sees Beatrice, like the piece Beatrice, not player Beatrice, but the Beatrice of the game board, and Gop and Renove and Virgilia and all those people all like appear before Natsuhi, and together they all like quote unquote resurrect Kinzo, which Izzy, you wanted to note this as the Izzy was right section, so I yield the floor to you.
Yeah, I was so fucking right. You might recall in almost literally every episode up until this point, my seemingly unhinged screeds about how magic works in this universe. I was fucking right. Oh my god, the fact that all the bits of magic are kind of displayed as, and this episode pretty much spells it out exactly like this, is that whenever you're presented with magic, it is everybody who is there as an observer is saying that is what's happened. So that's what we see as having had happened.
And that's very key, I think. It's not just that magic is fake, but the idea that magic is something that results that can only exist when everyone is in accordance, right? When everyone agrees that Beatrice is there, then Beatrice can be shown to be there, because that is the literal truth that everyone has agreed to, and that is the nature of the cat box, of literally the rules of the game board. That's really key.
In that regard, it's like magic is real, and it points that out a lot, where it's less... This episode, I feel like, really wants to hammer home the idea of that line that they always say, which is, without love, the truth cannot be seen. Because there is a part, and this part really hard makes me just hate Burncastle, where Natsuhi is drinking tea with Peace Beatrice. These two pieces are just drinking tea together, showing what happened, and then Burncastle just, like a jerk, is like, red text, this didn't actually happen, Natsuhi's here, and is alone and sad, and it's really depressing and gross. And I'm just like... Wow, Burncastle, you're a real fucker.
And it's really good because, obviously I think the intended player position this whole time has been like to strip away magic and to unveil the thing that is, that the ugly truth that is below it. But it really, here in episode 5, you begin to ask the question, like, what is the value of revealing that truth? Like, it was already, this was kind of, we already talked about it with Maria in episode 4, but here, as always in Answer Arcs, these things are made more explicit. You begin to ask, what is the use of showing us that stuff? Like, what do we as readers gain out of not just like understanding that truth, but of revealing it, of tearing it out and making that be the reality that is shown on the game board.
Yeah, and it feels like the game is looking at me in the eye and going, you've been thinking about this totally wrong. Because, like, the moment that moment happened, I was like, oh. Like, I was already trying to talk about how magic works, but I was thinking of it in a way of, like, this is how we can catch people in a gotcha. It's like, oh yeah, you all just got together and agreed to lie. But this, like, the truth about what happened is that Natsuhi presumably believed that that's what was going on, and so that's important to what happened, and it's not just the literal truth of what happened.
Natsuhi believes in Beatrice. It's so important. First of all, it's so juicy, and it's so important.
Every single time Beatrice is shown bonding with anybody of the real people, quote unquote, all I can think in my head is, I swear to God, I want magic to be real just because this relationship is so cute.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying. We've all been banging that freaking drum, you especially. It's finally comes to a head, and it's cruel of Burncastle to do that, but I mean, like you've been saying this whole time, Izzy, it's vindicating, so at least we've got that.
And I think that we can, later in the game, I think we'll find a place to kind of ask the inverse of that question, which is, what is the use of magic? And why would we accept that? But again, that's something that happens later. The last thing I want to note here in this backstory segment, Natsuhi receives a phone call.
I love this.
From a character who eventually comes to be called the man from 19 years ago. And this person accuses Natsuhi of some kind of horrible sin that comes out towards the end of the episode, and maybe we can talk about it there, but like this new piece that's been introduced, we don't actually get any red truth about the man from 19 years ago. Lambda and Burn even have a little scene where it is pointed out that, like, Lambda's whole strategy for this game is to withhold as much red truth as possible, because that actually keeps people guessing, which of course reveals a lot about Beatrice's playstyle as someone who actually used a lot of red truth. We will talk about Beatrice very, very soon. What did everyone think about this?
So fucking
this
juicy.
Figure?
So important. This unlocked everything for me. This unlocked my mind. This led me to something resembling a solution. And also it was like so fucked up and juicy, of course.
It's so juicy.
My first thought, honestly, was like, oh, they're just running this game and they've popped Erika in here, and there's also this other 19th person. They're really fucking this board up. Like, I didn't even take it as like a thing to worry about, because I was busy just thinking about how much, like, I was so on board with the emotions that Battler was showing about how disgusted he was with Bernkastel and Lambda Delta and how they're dealing with the board. I was so on board with that thought process. I was like, I don't even give a shit. I don't care. Like, this is all probably stupid and bullshit. Like, I wiped it off my shoulders, and then later it was like, you dumbass.
Yeah, I'm totally in the other camp. I literally immediately started, like, counting people and, like, doing math and, like, trying to, like, account for who is real, who exists on this island, who is there, who is not, and that led me lots of places. Not to mention it led me to theorizing who this man might be immediately, knowing nothing about him for 5 seconds.
So, yeah, what I did was, I've been playing the Umineko Project PS3 port, or the PC game, which has voice acting. So I immediately, like, recognized the voice actor, sort of.
But you didn't recognize it enough.
I didn't recognize it enough. I knew it was someone I hadn't heard, like, I had heard of before. So I spent, like, something like 2 hours, like, flipping through various gacha games I play and matching them to, like, the voice actors in the Umineko cast to try and figure out who it was. And ultimately it was pointless because, like, I'm now very certain who voice acted that character, but, like, their other character almost certainly wasn't the man from 19 years ago.
Who voice acted
It's Kenichi Suzumura, who's the voice actor of George.
Red Truth, no it is not.
The voice actor?
The voice actor for the man from 19 years ago is not George's voice actor.
Yes, it is.
Beans.
What?
I guarantee you it is not.
No, I'm completely certain of this.
You can't fight the Red Truth.
Yeah, I'm gonna just clickety-clackety.
I spent like a fucking hour, like flipping between like various characters that Kenichi Suzumura voiced and the man from 19 years ago. And you're telling me I'm wrong?
The fucking string and clippings bore falls down.
I am telling you that you are wrong.
No,
I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but it because like this ends up being
it's not relevant. Ultimately.
But it is the voice actor for the man from 19 years ago is in fact Daisuke Ono, who is Battler.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh
damn.
Jotaro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daisuke Ono versus Battler.
God.
Quick question. This is
Koizumi from Haruhi Suzumiya?
I'll tell you, from Grand Blue Fantasy.
Never mind, I don't have any more questions.
We all know so much about anime. I say, kicking my feet up.
Oh man, I posted cringe on this podcast. Can you delete that?
No.
It's good because this ends up... There are a lot of interesting ramifications for this casting choice if you think about the truth that Battler ends up constructing, and you wonder about how close is the truth that Battler constructs at the end of this game. How close is that to the... like true reality of this game.
But it can't. Okay, we're getting into that later because
which we will get into
fundamentally
later.
Impossible for Battler's theory to be true. But we'll get into that later.
The thing I wanted to say about the man from 19 years ago is I think this has some interesting resonances with the things that Lambda and Burns say before the start of the game and what Virgilia says to Battler before Battler comes and the replay of the 5th game begins, which is that, like, Lambda Delta is the game master. This is a new kind of concept that we've kind of had before, but now we, like, have it. Like, we've been handed it by the narrative. Lambda Delta is the game master, which means that she is the one constructing the narrative and constructing the movements of the pieces, and essentially through, you know, the existence of the meta reality, the one causing the murders to take place, and the one who is, you know, basically the dungeon master for Rakenjima in this game. And Ronove and Virgilia both say in their own ways, this is a game that Beatrice could have made, but not one she would have made.
Mm-hmm. Of course not, because Maria died.
Well, yes, one because Maria dies first. Like the metaphor I think Virgilia gives is that if you have a chessboard in front of you, you cannot use a chessboard to play cards, right? Like, you literally cannot do that, but you could use a chessboard to throw pieces at the other person. Again, this is something I think you could have sussed out, but now we have it, like, being handed to us by the game. We learned that Beatrice's game has certain affordances and has certain rules, and there are things that can happen in Beatrice's game, and there's things that cannot happen in Beatrice's game. Not just that anything could ever happen, but literally, like, there are only so many possibilities that could happen on Rakenjima, which is interesting when you think about that Beatrice has been calling herself the Endless Witch this whole time. But also, Beatrice herself, as a game master, as the previous game master, contrasted against Lambda Delta, has things that she will and will not do. Not things that are like outside of the scope of the rules of the game board, but things that Beatrice herself, the player, the person we've known all this time, wouldn't do. And we learn a lot about that from Virgilia over the course of the game. And so the existence of this character and the existence of, I think we really have to think about that, knowing that Lambda's play strategy versus Beatrice's play strategy, things that Beatrice could do but wouldn't do. I think we have to think about that, particularly in relation to the movements of the witch's side in this episode, with regards to things like Beatrice appearing before Natsuhi, and with regards to things like the man from 19 years ago, and the way the epitaph murders continue to happen, even though Battler and Erika solve the epitaph, without literally just explaining it. But also, I am trying to be a little more explicit, because now we're here in the answer arcs. If this figure is something Beatrice could have done, but not something Beatrice would have done, the existence of this character known as the man from 19 years ago, how does he fit into the games that have existed previously? Who is this guy? Who could this guy be? I think becomes a very interesting...
Yeah, I didn't consider that at all. Framing this dude as something that Beatrice did not morally want to do, or possibly for other reasons.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I would put it in the realm of morality, but definitely we learn a lot about the object of Beatrice's game in this episode. But let's not spend too much time talking about Beatrice, because we have our new main character to talk about. We will talk so much about Beatrice, but first we have to talk about everybody's favorite, Erika Furudo.
So my opinion is that the best character in all of literature is Beatrice. Erika is a close second.
Do you want to defend that?
No.
Literally, right. This entire segment is going to be Caelum mounting that defense. So yeah, the big change in terms of the actual time period of the game board, maybe the biggest change that happens is the existence of this new piece called Erika Furudo, which is, of course, very, very close to a certain other character's name, Erika Furude from Higurashi, who happens to look a lot like Bernkastel. All of those resonances are there.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Literally, yeah. Original the character. And the first thing we learn about her, to do a little bit of recap, because this is worth saying on the podcast, Erika washes up onto the shore of Rakenjima in her,
having been pushed off a cruise ship by the employees because they hate her so much.
Wearing her fucking bathing suit, and she walks up to Maria. There's this great fake out because you think, it's the time, and the narration does all of this work to be like, and it's time for Beatrice to appear to Maria and begin the fifth game, and instead it's fucking Erika. It's so good. Erika is taken in by the Ishiramiya family. My favorite bit of Erika lore is that she is dressed in Jessica's old clothes.
Trans rights, to be honest.
I can't imagine what function, the time period of her life where Jessica, Tomboy Supreme, is wearing the shit that Erika is wearing in this episode.
For reference, for those who haven't seen or might not see, it's a pink magical girl, frilly, mini corseted, puffy ends of sleeves, laced freaking dress ribbons, with accompanying pink bows for pigtails.
All over it. It's ridiculous. Of course, it fits Erika, and it provides a very nice contrast against... it fits the Erika that we meet at first, and it provides a wonderful contrast against the Erika we come to know.
It fits Erika all the time, and it's never unfitting at any point. I don't know what you're talking about.
But after all of that, the first thing we learn about Erika is that she doesn't exist and she doesn't matter. Caelum, you have so much to say about Erika. Can you set this up for us and then kind of go into it?
So, the first obvious conclusion you'd come in if there's a new character is, this character must be the culprit. This is the... I guess the 18th person now, since Kinzo is dead, and then our game masters have to step in and be like, no, Erika is just here because I did not Bernkastel's
Bernkastel's Battler, I hated your pussy.
Yeah.
You have to stop, sir.
Battler sucks, so I'm going to put my original character, Erika Furudo, in here. And boy, what a character she is. Something that I think is really interesting about her is that she is, like, the flattest character in Umineko. Like, every other person, on the game board, possibly with the exception of this episode, is, like, someone with, like, characters with a lot of, like, dimensionality, right? Like, with a lot of, like, different layers to them. For ones that exist on multiple layers of the game board, you can kind of, like, understand, like, why they have independent reasons for the same actions. Not with Erika. She is the detective, and that's it. Like, if at any point somebody on the game board tried to question why she would do anything, she could genuinely not come up with a reason better than she is the detective, and detectives do this. And I truly love that for her.
That literally happens.
It literally does that. Times. Yeah. It's so good. I love that for her.
Pisses me off so much.
I'm physically sweating.
She is the most fictional character out of all of them. There is a very intentional focus on her not being real and not having depth to her.
Yeah, when she is introduced and Battler's like, hey, what the fuck is up with this bitch? Lambda and Burn both spend a little time weaving some red truths, which basically amount to that Erika did not exist on the game board prior to this game. She had no influence on Beatrice's game prior to this game. She does not count towards the people total that Beatrice was talking about at the end of episode 4. Literally, like, she exists to be a cipher for this new playstyle that Burncastle and Erika put forward of mystery, not anti-fantasy, not arguing against witches, but arguing for this story, this game being a mystery game.
Yeah, it's like Erika, like, grabs the hammer and tries to beat this story into being a mystery novel.
Literally,
that's her entire, like, modus operandi.
Yeah, we get the red truth that she is the detective, and, like, she truly exists as... When you think about what a detective does in a mystery novel, and you think about what a detective is in a mystery novel, a detective... in kind of classic Golden Age mystery, or really kind of orthodox and neo-orthodox mysteries from Japan, which both pull very heavily from Golden Age mysteries. The detective exists to be the perfect lens through which the reader views the story, and through which the reader can divine everything about the narrative, about the clues, about the state of the world, and, like, the detective has no capacity to be fallible in any of their observations, because the detective is the thing that facilitates the existence of mystery stories. If the detective is just wrong about something, if there is a hidden door that the detective just can't find just because it's hidden, then mystery stories don't exist. And so Erika and Burncastle through Erika, yeah, like you say, Caelum, wields that like a fucking hammer, wields that like a fucking sword to impose the rules of a mystery novel and the rules of the mystery genre, or a very particular version of the mystery genre, onto Beatrice's game, which so far has been mostly confronted through Battler arguing against Beatrice, anti-fantasy, but doing a very poor job of putting forward his own truths. Where Erika is all about putting forward that truth. It's about a positive argument, not a negative argument. It's about arguing this is mystery, this is not fantasy.
Yeah, like, Battler wants to disprove Beatrice, and Erika wants to prove she's right.
Yes. Which there's a lot of interesting genre work happening there. That one of the first things Erika does upon her, like, arrival onto the game board is she has this whole thing where she talks with the with all the relatives, and eventually with Peace Battler ends up solving the epitaph.
It's so funny that you don't find out how they solve it, by the way.
It's so good.
I still don't know. Please tell me.
It's so good.
This one I'm not solving this myself. Please tell me. Let me go.
Hey, this whole episode is about making you solve it yourself.
I'll solve anything else. Anything else.
But while she's doing that, she has all these little, she has this quirk where she talks about her little gray cells, which is, of course,
Poirot.
Yeah, pulled directly from Agatha Christie's Poirot. Erika, like, is, if Delanor, this character we meet later, is like the embodiment of, like, the mystery genre, Erika really is the embodiment of, like, a very particular kind of mystery reader, of a very particular kind of mystery fan. That's really about, like, solutions and about logic and about the pure joy of reasoning, which is something that Umineko has a very, very big opinion on. Caelum, how does Erika relate to the game board?
Okay, so I went over this a little bit earlier, but she is the single character where every version of her that exists is like they have the exact same motives for what they're doing, right? Like, because it's things like Battler will do things on the board, and like the Battler, a level above him in the like outside the game board will have a reason for doing that, and it is a different reason than the Battler on the board itself, but it's the same conclusion, right? Like Erika doesn't do that. She exists because Bernkastel is her master, and she serves her, and that's it.
Yeah, she's a power gamer, right? Like she is there to solve the mystery.
Yeah, she's fucking min-maxing. Like, oh my god, I really want to get into how unhinged she is so badly.
Oh, well, I mean, all of her tape seals that she does.
That like she like starts like trying to one up every kind of evidence possible to disprove her like nuts ass theory on who the culprit is. Like the absolute wild extent that she does. And like trying to like contextualize that and the idea of like she doesn't know that a murder is going to happen yet, but she goes around taping every single fucking door and window shut, like in a typhoon. Like it is hurricaning outside. That like this is like something that no real person would do, but because she doesn't have any kind of like obligation to be a real person, she can just do it.
Yeah, I think it bears like clarifying explicitly that, there's all sorts of weird stuff about like she is Bernkastel's piece, she's not real, blah blah blah, but like Erika is literally a human to the same extent that all of the other quote-unquote pieces on the board are human. Like, she cannot, like, fly around or, like, pass through rooms. Like, she's an ultra-mega human. She's, like, a crazy, like, robotified version of what, like, a mystery detective human might be if they were to do all sorts of things, like stay up all night next to a wall listening for weird noises for like 5 hours just standing in the same spot, like things a person wouldn't do. But she is technically limited by human limitations, and she does not literally have the answers for this game, nor is she constructing this game. Like she is bound by the same stuff Battler and everyone else are, Battler especially in the previous games. She's just ridiculous.
She is that person that you're role-playing with on a forum, and it's 2008, and this person just doesn't ever want to lose a fight ever. So, when faced with like reasonable opposition, they just come up with more and more like tenuous reasons for why they're right, and they won.
Mm-hmm. And the reason that Erika can do that is because she's approaching the game board as a game board, right? She's approaching it as like a thing to be solved, where Battler has, through what has in the past been called incompetence, but Battler still has empathy for these people he grew up with, even if he is this kind of like being that exists above the game board at this point and is like, he's also fighting to free himself and to go back to the world that he was in. And so he has like a connection to these people, and he has empathy for, even after seeing fucking Shannon die for the 4th time or whatever, it still hurts him, it still phases him. And that is Erika, unshackling herself from that is what allows her to be the supreme super duper detective that she is, which of course is very, very pointed.
Yeah, she has no stake in the matter, and she's totally fine acting like a sociopath to everybody. It rules. I love her so much.
She solves the epitaph, but she says, I don't want to take any of the gold, even though I basically solved it, because I don't give a shit. I just enjoy solving the puzzle. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so... I love Umineko. I do. I mean, I'm hosting this podcast about it. But there's nothing particularly subtle about the way Erika exists as a character and like the relationship to the notion of without love it cannot be seen, right?
Yeah, she is certainly a person that is without love. Love that for her.
I love that she's like a supercomputer person, and she has like a not possible realm of techniques to use to solve any possible mystery, but the lack of emotions is a limitation for her, and she doesn't have witch powers, which is also a limitation for her. So it's fun to see her undone in that way throughout the course of this. barely undone at all, but where she is, when she's like quoting this or that thing, she's like, this mystery first happened at this moment. And Peace Battler, who isn't even Battler, but even so, Peace Battler's so fed up, he turns to her and he's like, that's not the first time that happened. And she's like, oh, well, whatever. I read this much a year. And he's like, only a person who, like, is insecure and doesn't read that much in a year would say I read a lot, right? Like, unless you're reading, like, 1,000 books a day, like, who cares? And she's so flustered. In those moments, she gets so pissed off and flustered. And I love that element of, like, she's a human, but she's so inhuman. And that's what really makes her suffer.
Just to draw that out a little bit more, Erika, in that moment that you're talking about, Anna, Erika makes a lot of references. She references And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which is like literally Umineko. A bunch of people go to an island and they all die one by one in accordance with a poem that is found in the rooms, and there's a message bottle eventually that, you know, reveals everything and etc. Like, it's literally Umineko is like anime And Then There Were None on some level. But she also references two other books, both of which are part of the Japanese detective fiction canon. I am not well read or even read at all on Japanese detective fiction, but I think it's worth, if nothing else, going to the Wikipedia page and drawing this out just a little bit. In Japan, around the 1920s, there's the rise of what's known as orthodox detective fiction, which is detective fiction that is, well, because I haven't read these books, I don't know, but basically the idea is that they were inspired by, certain Western detective fiction that makes its way to Japan in that time period. And, you know, there's a long history, a long lineage of detective fiction going back even further than that is specific to Asia and probably Japan. But after the Orthodox school, which we can say is kind of a conventional or standard detective fiction, after that is the rise of what's called the kind of social school, or like the social realism detective fiction, kind of around the late 1950s, which is based more in characters that are more embedded in society and less about kind of like a sort of logic puzzle and more about like figures that are So here's a quote from Seicho Matsumoto from his Essays on the Mystery Novel. Again, is here on the Wikipedia page. I think that the writer of the detective novels can describe human beings by emphatically drawing the crime motive, because the crime motive originates from the psychology when people are left in the extreme situation. After World War II, I don't think that writers of the detective novels succeeded in drawing human beings enough. Rather, I think that from the beginning they abandon the will to draw that human being. In this way, detective novels became a game for narrow-minded enthusiasts. From old days, I had a dissatisfaction towards a detective story of the kind that common people wouldn't be interested in. I had this dissatisfaction for the writers who continue to write these detective novels. I will not assert that a detective novel has to be literary. However, I hope detective novels can be written that we can appreciate as more than the minimum standard as a novel. So basically, like, trying to get past this sort of like game-like, very strictly about like solving something mystery novel that existed before, and pulling in more elements of social realism. So that happens for another 20 years. And then in the 1980s, there's a revitalization of the Orthodox school called the New Orthodox or Neo-Orthodox school of mystery novels in Japan, headed by people like Soji Shimada, Yukito Ayatsuji, both of whom I believe are referenced in episode 5 here. Here's what Ayatsuji has to say. Which is actually from, like, is a fictional quote, or a quote from one of the fictional characters in his novels, The Decagon House Murders. To me, detective fiction is a kind of intellectual game, a logical game that gives readers sensations about detectives or authors. These are not to be ranked high or low, so I don't want the once popular social school realism. A female employee murdered in a deluxe suite room. Criminal police's tireless investigation eventually brings in the murdering boss cum boyfriend, all cliche. Political scandals of corruption and ineptness, tragedies of distortion of modern society, these are also out of date. The most appropriate materials for detective fiction, whether accused untimely or not, are famous detectives, grand mansions, suspicious residents, bloody murders, puzzling situations, earth-shattering schemes. Made-up things are even better. The point is to enjoy the pleasure in the world of reasoning. But intellectual prerequisites must be completely met.
Erika said that.
Yeah, Erika said that. I remember when she said that.
Yeah, she just straight up said that.
So Erika existing as this player who is very firmly embedded in this kind of neo-orthodox school of thinking. Neo-orthodox novels sometimes included things like diagrams of like the entire mansion, and like the solution would hinge on you realizing that the entire mansion has a slight 5-degree grade to all of its floors, and that, like, you know, helps you understand how the murders took place. And it's like taking the idea of the mystery of a logic puzzle to its like fullest extreme, where it's really more about playing that game than necessarily about any kind of like social realism to the novel. I'm sure this is all like, you know, much more complicated than this, but this is what I kind of have access to right here and now, trying to read some big visual novel and also do a podcast about it.
Well, I appreciate
thank you.
Again, as a self-styled mystery buffoon, I appreciate like an insight into the discourse that led to the, you know, layered development of these things, like digging up old rock, you know, old dirt, and seeing the layers of what built the land. It's like these are the things that informed Umineko, and even deeper than that, they like informed the characters and these dueling detectives with dueling styles. I appreciate the context a lot, because I had no frickin' idea. I thought she was just like a snob.
I mean, she is.
She is just a snob. Yeah. She is just a snob, but
she does suck.
She's located in a very specific place in how this genre exists in like the place Umineko was written, Japan, right? Like she is more than like she is a mystery snob, but she exists in a very specific context, and I think it's good to, at least in, you know, in part as much as we can on our funny joke haha podcasts, to bring that context in, especially when you have mystery versus fantasy as like
the central conflict,
literally the point of the narrative. Yeah. So Erika, you know, all that stuff that Caelum and Anna talked about happened. She, you know, she solves the thing. She puts a bunch of tape on everyone's doors. She listens to the cousin's room from like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
She has a party with someone where she does not break eye contact with the door leading outside of the room for like 4 hours.
While she's getting fucking absolutely boozed up with Goda. Yeah.
You know.
And eventually we wake up and the first Twilight has happened. The first Twilight has happened despite the fact, like I pointed out earlier, that the epitaph has been solved.
I mean, that hasn't really happened, is the thing. Because it doesn't match the first Twilight.
Not Kinzo. Krauss is missing. We later find out he's dead. That's 6 people.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's not, you know, a cut and dry first Twilight. There are only 5 people here. Lambda Delta doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, literally.
Like, it got fucked up. Like,
yeah, it's fucked up.
It's literally noted as such. Lambda Delta's like, that's a real funky first Twilight.
Yeah, and like in other games, like Kinzo counts as a later Twilight, even though he's obviously been dead the entire time. So, you know, I don't think Krauss counts. Fuck you.
Well, then Krauss has to count for the for the next Twilight, where 2 people who are close.
That's my thing. The second Twilight doesn't make any sense either. It just like it doesn't follow the epitaph at all. Lambda Delta doesn't give a shit. She just kills people.
As we're about to get into the mysteries, can I say something real quick that's just occurred to me about this game? I feel like with the way it cuts off after like the 3rd Twilight, because like the game is solved. Like I don't think this is a real shot in the dark, but I don't know that there is a solution to episode 5. Like the whole point of the question arcs, episodes 1 through 4, is that they're all like complete games and they all have their own weird things going on and different like rules and situations a little bit. But episode 5 is like, again, like the pieces are just like shambling husks of people who are in a place at a time to make something convenient that like Burncastle set up to be that way, so Erika could figure it out. Like the murders kind of don't even happen. The theories that wind up coming out, the blue truths and the red truths, are all ridiculous. Like I think that from the viewpoint of being at the end of the game, we're not there yet talking about it, but thinking about it, like I don't think we can solve this. I don't think we're supposed to like figure out the first Twilight. You know, it's not 6 people. The second Twilight, that's all messed up too. Like I think the point is those things are not happening. Like, we're not within those realms. This isn't quite Beatrice's game. And so take the information you're given and like use those tools, the murders that you do see, the setups that you do see, to interact with the red and blue truths given in this game. But like, I don't know that we can solve it.
Yeah, I don't know who did these, straight up. Like, I don't know who the murderer is, because it's...
He rubs my grubby little hands together.
Taking all the red truths in mind, it isn't Natsuhi, it isn't Battler, and those are the only two theories that come up.
How is it not Battler?
There's a red truth established at the end of episode 4 that he's never the culprit.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So, if red truths apply across all games, which I do believe so, then Battler did not do this murder.
Oh, shit. Well, fuck. Now all my theories are fucked. I forgot all about that one. Like, I was so focused on, like, the bit of dialogue during, like, a later fight where it was like, but you're the detective, Battler, you can't be fucked up. And he's just like, but I'm not the detective this time. So I was like, I guess that does mean Battler can do it.
I mean, I think there are ways you could argue around that red truth and have this Battler be the culprit. Which we can get into later, but I have no fucking idea who did it, and I don't think it's Battler.
While Izzy tries to put all of her Lego pieces back together, Caelum, your next point here is Erika in TV tropes.
I don't know what I meant when I put that down. I've been staring at that for the past hour, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
No, don't tell me you don't know. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, you gotta
come up with one. Come up with one. Hold on. Everyone go to TV tropes real quick. Just find a random one and try to apply it to Erika. Whoever says the first one wins. We got
I think what I was intending with that, and I straight up do not remember what I meant when I wrote down Erika in TV tropes on our worksheet. Is that she categorizes stuff like TV tropes does?
I mean, she is kind of that. Yeah, I mean, going with what we were talking about with her being like a particular kind of mystery player, she's like...
will look at the general shape of something and decide what it is and try and shove this square peg into a round hole. I guess she is a TV tropes user. Derogatory.
Yeah, like she literally operates on the assumption that this story is one that can, or maybe she just thinks it's one that will, be fit into the common tropes of mystery stories.
Yeah, she does reference a lot how, this has to go X, Y, or Z way, or else it's a shitty detective novel.
Yeah, constantly. A third-rate, someone who does this. If you're the culprit, this is a really third-rate mystery, yeah. Eventually she gets put in her place, where Kyrie says something like, something third-rate detective.
This random trope I pulled up, I don't think applies to her at all.
Yeah, my random trope is distinctive appearances, which is like, I guess, a TV tropes page about the concept of character design, which, I mean, she does have.
I got... Take me instead. A character offers themselves in exchange for the freedom of another.
Okay, Erika is the opposite of that concept.
Take her instead. Yeah, for real. The one I got is Heart Beatdown, which is in a nutshell a character who uses love as one of their elemental powers. And I think that's the single worst TV trope in existence for her.
The opposite of Erika.
Good job, everybody.
Okay.
Well, okay. Talking about detective tropes, we have our other major new character who appears here, who I actually love, unlike Erika, who I hate. I actually truly love Delanor A. Knox.
She is baby!
She is literally baby. The last word of all of her sentences is all in caps, and she is the personification, essentially, of Knox's Decalogue, which is something that's come up, actually, in episode 2. I was wondering if anyone was going to try and dig in to figure out what Beatrice was talking about there, but
I knew
now
about
it's here
it, but
for real.
I wasn't here for episode 2, so...
Well, okay, fair enough.
Knox's Decalogue is made by Ronald Knox. Ronald backwards is Delanor.
I didn't realize that until these two were calling her Ronald, chat. And I was like, McDonald?
And I was like, nope, the one on the board there with the sword and the nya face.
Yeah, so Knox's Decalogue is something that Ronald A. Knox, who is a detective author, puts forward as kind of here are the rules for a proper mystery story. Here are 10 rules that every detective story must follow if it wants to be a good detective story, and these include things like...
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just super quick. When did those get published? When did this come out as a statement?
Knox's Decalogue is from 1929, I believe, in this book called the introduction to the best. No, the book's called The Best Detective Stories of 1928 and 1929. It's in the introduction of that. I'm also reading a Wikipedia page.
Thank you.
Yes, we are all.
I have it open because I want to reference
deepest
them.
information we can all access.
I have actually done research on this. I just didn't record it or remember any of it.
Yeah,
so.
fuck me too, dude. Okay, actually, Izzy, can you, before we get into the Decalogue, can you say this thing that you've put here in the chat?
Okay, so I looked up Ronald Knox on Wikipedia, which is where I'm looking at this, and you might know, if you've read the chapter, read the episode, that it's Lionel A. Knox or Ronald A. Knox. What does the A stand for? Arbuthnot.
It really is!
Ronald Arbuthnot Knox.
Arbuthnot.
I mean,
His strongly
so badly
evangelical father was Edmund Arbuthnot Knox, who became the Bishop of Manchester, and was a descendant of John Arbuthnot, 8th Viscount of Arbuthnot.
That's a really good word. Oh, God. It's just, like, I'll just enjoy how a good word that is.
I call her Delanor.
That's nice. I mean, in Japanese, it must actually be like Dora or something, right?
It's something like that.
So it is. So there is a vowel in there. I just like pretending there's not.
Anna, you sent me 1,000 years back into the past because one of my OCs when I was like 10 years ago was named Delano, and I thought you were fucking talking about my OC, and I was like, what's happening?
This is her now. Feel old yet?
Congratulations.
This is her name in Japanese, which is...
Okay, well, I can't read
I'm going to open up Google Translate.
Well, the first one's
Yeah, it's Doranoru.
Okay, it is Del. Okay. Well, it can be Del.
Delanor.
That's like a name. So Nox's... Anyways, what the fuck were we talking about? Nox's commandments. Nox's commandments are 10 rules that Ronald A. Knox, a particular mystery writer in the early 20th century, puts forward as the 10 rules you need to have for a good mystery. And they are things like the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story. The detective cannot be the culprit. The detective cannot have clues that the reader doesn't know about. And lots of stuff like that to basically give rules. I don't know if they were intended as rules that you must follow or just kind of like some rules he was putting forward for himself. I believe it is noted that even Knox breaks some of these rules eventually in his oeuvre. But they're sort of rules for thinking about detective stories, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These end up being really useful to Erika as so they're caught in this fight between Beatrice and Erika, who as the detective, you know, they fucking have fights. There are fights in this
Yeah.
story.
So in this episode, the like witch fights, which I'm always talking about and are always my favorite part, are actually like mystery fights. Like they're still displayed as like weird witchly magical-esque beings doing flips and shit, but the means by which they're fighting, it's not just like them throwing punches. Like they're using red and blue truths and pulling from different techniques like Knox's 10 rules or some bullshit we made up about Kinzo to like prove or disprove each other, to like attack or defend, for example, is how the fights work. And there's only like 2 or 3. I think there's literally 2. If you don't count like the last 1 second. I guess then there's 3. But yeah, that's how it goes. And like the role that Delanor plays is similar to like the role the Seven Stakes play for Beatrice. She plays that for Erika, but wielding Knox's truths.
Yeah, the function that Knox's commandments actually have in terms of like the mechanics of Umineko is that the commandments have the weight of red truth. They're wielded as red truth. So the piece Beatrice is not allowed to put forward a theory that conflicts with these rules of detective fiction. You know, Beatrice will try to say something like, oh, there was a hidden trapdoor that no one could find, and Delanor will strike that down with the red truth. Knox's third, hidden passages are not allowed to exist. I will not allow them to exist. It's interesting because you kind of see the relationship between the detective side and the witch side in terms of like who has the power and who's like struggling, you know, in kind of that anime sort of, or very melodramatic way where one side is overwhelming power and one side barely ekes out a win. You see that invert where Beatrice is like barely clinging on to her own existence and Kinzo's existence, while Delanor and Erika using her like detective powers to like have perfect intuition, have perfect perception, all of that stuff are able to spin red truths, where Beatrice tries to make blue truths where Kinzo can still exist, and those are struck down by the red detective truths, the red mystery truths of Delanor and Erika.
It's so good, though, like, using blue truths, which were originally the detective's only tool, to become the tool of the witch. Ugh, the narrative. So good. So good.
And you start to see the blue and red truths being used, like, in the same statement, where within one paragraph, it will swap from blue to red, back to blue, as you see, like, the arguments that they are building are literally the weapons that they are fighting with, right? And the red sword, the red key, and the blue key that Delanor have power because they are being wielded as a part of the argument that you're having back and forth, right? And it's great, and it's like, it's fucking anime flips, and the choreography in this episode is actually really fucking good.
Which is a wild thing to say.
Yeah, it's a novel.
The fucking animations.
The best thing that happens is during one of the later fights when Battler and Erika are fighting, and Erika attacks Battler, and then Battler slowly fades out, and then the camera pans to put Erika on the other side, and then Battler shows up behind her like he's in fucking Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever read.
My favorite part is in the very last fight, right before the end of the actual episode. Not the Hidden Tea Party, but the episode 5 itself. Battler is trying to fight back against Delanor, and Delanor keeps fucking him up, and what happens is Battler climbs his way back up, and his sprite rolls back up, and Delanor keeps punching him down, and his sprite goes away, and you hear the loud thud, and then he rolls back up, and then Delanor punches him down, and then Delanor moves to the center of the frame, and, like, you see her pick him up. Like, you see Delanor, like, grab Battler, drag him to his feet, and then punch him down again. And you get that impression through, you know, just the wipes of the reveals of these sprites and the sound work that's happening. It's fucking awesome.
It's really
so
good.
I love visual novel. Yes.
This is definitely, like, a masterwork. They're really playing with the fucking tools and restrictions and making it work out really cool.
Yeah, I was asking Jenn just a couple days ago, like, oh, so is there like a big gap between the answer arcs, like half of them, or like between 4 and 5? Because I was like, no, this was 6 months later or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, they were already doing cool shit with the sprites. I've talked about it in previous episodes, but like the production value in this game is just on another level.
Something, again, I am playing the PS3 port. The quality of the sprites in that have jumped up a lot. Like, I genuinely...
I have to say, I think the faces are a lot better.
Yeah, the faces are so much better. They feel really, like, they're not as expressive as the original Ryukishi stuff. They will never so much as approach how good he is at expressions. But they are so much better than they were in the first 4 episodes. Like, I think a large part of why I cannot stop thinking about Erika is that, like, she has a lot of, like, subtlety to her faces in the PS3 release. Like, there's like a lot of depth going on in the faces she makes. Delanor 2 also has very, very many great faces. She is so cute.
Yeah, die the death, sentenced to death, great equalizer is the death. I love her so much.
Sicko mode face.
So really quick, I want to let's take a little step out of our Umineko gush zone, which we're in all the time, and let's take a little time to talk about Nox's Fifth.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Nox's Fifth.
I am the Nox's Fifth defender because yes, it is not very well written, but I think it has good intentions.
Yeah. So in Umineko, there are 10 commandments, right? There are the 10 commandments of detective fiction, and each one of them shows up in Umineko, except for the fifth commandment, which even in like the list of the commandments that Umineko gives you in the tip section is just listed as omitted. And that is because Nox's Fifth is, I'm going to avoid saying the racial slur that is included in it, but Nox's Fifth is essentially no Asian person will factor into a detective story. Now, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up, to be clear. But it's because it's about don't be racist. I promise. It's about that having racial caricatures leads to a worse story. He just wrote it in the most 1929 way you possibly could.
Right. So Nox explains this commandment as such. And again, I'm going to be shifting some of the language here, but also like just a quick content warning for anti-Asian, content warning for some racist shit. I see no reason in the nature of things why a Chinese person should spoil a detective story. But as a matter of fact, if you are turning over the pages of an unknown romance in a bookstore and come across some mention of the narrow, slit-like eyes of... bad racist name. Avoid that story. It is bad. So yeah, like he's, we can give Knox the benefit of the doubt and say, like, I think what he's actually trying to get at here is that racial stereotypes are bad and harm detective fiction. But also that you write your commandment in such a way, your commandment isn't like avoid racial stereotyping or whatever way you might write it in 1929, but it was in fact no Asian person must figure into the story, and that's still
instead of saying don't
bad.
Stereotype the person, they were like don't even include the person the stereotype applies to.
Dude couldn't conceptualize the idea of having non-white characters in his fiction without being racist about it.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, he says I see no reason in the nature of things, and he even still uses that, like, again, racial slur in his explanation of why he thinks racism is bad for detective stories. But like, it's worth pointing out that even if Knox had like a certain good intention behind it, we can maybe assume it is still like, it's still bad. It's still a bad...
Yeah,
you could rewrite it, but it would be a rewriting of it, It would not be the actual commandment itself.
It doesn't need to be rewritten. There's no place for that, right? Like, we all, in our stories that we consume, are all praying and pleading and hoping and begging that there is no fucking racism and, like, homophobia. Not uncritically, unless that's, like, within the purview, reasonably from a place of understanding or being critical or whatever. Like, no, we are past that now. I mean, we're not,
totally.
But we're like in our hearts, at least as the fucking people on this podcast, like, and the people who made Umineko, we are fucking past that. We don't need that in there, nor do we need to rewrite it.
Yeah, exactly what you're saying, Anna. We have to be beyond that. If that is something that needs to be like fucking... I mean, it is something that needs to be explicated is a thing, but
I guess my take on that specifically is that I think most of the stuff in Knox's Decalogue are kind of like basic statements in general. So don't be racist would honestly be about on the same level of basic as the other 9.
There is something about, like, don't be racist being included alongside, like, rules that are specifically about detective fiction.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was thinking.
It's about, like, the rule is the detective cannot be the culprit, and then to have a rule be like, and also no racism.
It's not it's not a mystery novel rule. It's a story rule. It's a life rule.
Yeah,
I think they're just conjecturing. I think there might have been like a common trope of that, and just being like, if that trope is there, it just sucks. Like, regardless of whether it was coming at the place from, like, the idea, I guess you could be like, you're reading the back of the book at the store, and you're like, oh, this has hidden passages. This sucks. And it just is along that line, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. We're a bunch of, like, mostly white people, if not all white people here. So, our perspective on this is going to be limited, but I thought it was worth, like, having some version of this conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
It's part of the mystery novel, mystery genre, storytelling genre, history lineage, It's part of it too.
Totally.
Same as the other part we did before. I think it's worth mentioning for sure. But let's get back into Umineko now. Let's fail to solve some mysteries using the other 9 rules that are about hidden doors and not tripping over your shoelaces.
Yeah, definitely. Izzy, you have here on our little document that you want to talk about pieces and players, and I feel like this is a pretty good place to talk about that. What do you want to say?
I'm something that I've paid a lot of attention to and I was curious about during the question arcs was how each individual character and instance of the character was related to each other. Like, the first time this really comes up is in episode 2, because Battler is playing the game with Beatrice, but then on the board is also another Battler, and at times there are sentences that Peace Battler will say that makes me think he understands the things that Battler and, like, the meta world understands, and I'm just like, okay, where exactly is this? Where's the line? What's happening here? So I've paid a lot of attention to that. And because we're in the answer arcs now, they're kind of laying it out on a silver platter for us. The pieces are just kind of like snapshots of the people who just act as they would normally act unless they're being directly controlled by someone who can control them in the meta world. Like, Peace Battler doesn't just sit around like an asshole until Battler says, hey, do something. Well, I mean, sometimes he does. But, like, Peace Battler will do what Battler would have done in the situation without being controlled by a meta individual.
Yeah, totally. Like, what we learned through this episode is basically that, like, pieces tend towards actions that they would actually take. You know? Like even if you are controlling a piece, it's not that you could make Ava run up to Natsuhi and kiss her clean on the mouth, right? Like, that's something Ava would never, ever do.
I don't know if that's a good example,
Wild thing to say right now.
I'm done.
But that, like, I think what this little bit of information actually does, more than, like, spell out the, like, the mechanical rules of, like, the meta world and the regular world, more than that, I think it points the player, us, like us player, not player battler,
the reader,
towards the idea that, like, you can trust that these characters have internal lives that they are consistent with. You know, it's not like I was kind of saying earlier, it's not just anything fucking goes, and Natsuhi could be this way in one episode and this way in completely differently in another episode, but that they do have an interiority that they remain true to through through all of it, and that you can, you know, even though it is not stated in red, that you can trust that interiority if you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
So vindicated by the statement that, like, character readings are important and do have meaning. It's not that what you see is literally what you get in terms of what a character presents or does, but it's that each character is true to themselves through all of these, so you can, from their actions, whether they're really happening or not, whether it's something that happens during a scene with magic or not, like, you can understand why they might do this, or why they might say that they were doing this, or why they might say this out loud versus think this way in their head in a different episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was personally so glad about that one. This comes up literally because Battler, in the first fight, saves Beatrice. Heroically, he, like, does a backflip out the window, and there's red truths later about what actually happened and blah blah blah, but, like, basically he backflips out a window, says a cool line, catches Beatrice in his arms, and all but gives her a big smoochie on the lips. And
I know
him talking, that's Peace Battler, and Player Battler talking to Virgilia is like, I didn't do any of that, I wasn't even there for that part, I was still controlled by Lambda Delta. And Virgilia's like, no, you literally did do that. Like, none of that was things that you wouldn't have done. All of those happen because that's how you behave and what you would have wanted to do, what you would have done. And so it's an important part of the whole freaking with love, it can be seen theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Finally inverting that, right? Not just without love, it cannot be seen. Yeah.
What really brought the question into my head was when Erika and Battler solved the puzzle. I was like, is Battler actually smart enough to solve the puzzle?
I think he is.
And then later it's like, yes. He is.
Well, the answer is barely.
It's very specific that
help,
they solve it together, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just that Erika solves it by herself, but that Peace Battler and Erika both together solve it.
And then with this better delineation, I guess maybe not better, but this understanding, it allows us to better delineate between the actions of the people in the meta world and the people in the board world, but then it also meshes together the motivations of the people in the meta world and the people in the board world.
Yes, literally. Like, the fact that Peace Beatrice still exists and runs around acting like, you know, like Beatrice, kind of a slightly more shallow version of her, for sure. But, like, yeah, exactly what you put it very well. The ability to trust that Battler on the board and Battler up above have some accordance, and Beatrice on the board and Beatrice up above have an accordance with the two separate versions of themselves.
Which means that Beatrice would have helped Natsui.
Of course Beatrice would have helped Natsui.
Well,
Beatrice is the family alchemist.
I will, in the spirit of the Answer Arcs, I will point us back to Lambda Delta's whole strategy here, which is that the witch's side especially is doing things they could do, but not necessarily things they would do.
Yeah, but Beatrice is Beatrice.
Yeah, but Beatrice is Beatrice, so...
Beatrice is Beatrice. So this confrontation in Kinzo's study, where all this stuff happens, where Delaenor first shows up, where Beatrice gets cornered, and where Battler saves the day. That gives way to what ends up being the second Twilight, where Natsuhi is coerced by the man from 19 years ago to hide in a specific closet.
My bit.
I'm so sorry. Caelum, would you like to talk about how Erika's breaking all the rules?
Yes, Erika's breaking all the rules. Okay, so I think it's very interesting how like she is the most specific like invocation of Nox's Decalogue, and you know the magical counterpart to her that enforces her allegations is entirely in the context of the Decalogue, because she breaks every single fucking one of them. It fucking rules. So like, number one, the criminal must be mentioned in the early part of the story. Well, she says it's Nazi, you know, Nazi's been here the entire time, so that's fine. But must not be anyone whose thoughts the reader has been allowed to know. We have multiple chapters from Nazi's point of view in this episode, so fuck you. 2, all supernatural or pre-international agencies are ruled out. I don't care about that. 3.
Well, I want to make sure that you're using the Nox's Decalogue that is presented.
That one's like a paragraph long each, but they're all roughly the same.
They're roughly the same. But the first is missing the clause about the someone whose thoughts you have known. But still, like, actually, this exercise is useful if you actually go back to the proper Decalogue and not Umineko's version.
Because I'm the point I'm trying to make is that if the turns were tabled, and if Delaenor was in the service of Battler, then like Erika would have been fucking flayed alive. Like her reasoning and her actions in the story are so like in violation of these rules that she insists are like the only way this novel can be structured. It's fascinating. Number 7, the detective himself must not commit the crime. She trespasses. I
don't think the Beatrice's epitaph murders are about who trespasses onto the fucking Ushirimiya property.
Yeah, fucking Rudolph has committed white-collar crime in the past, so he can't possibly be the culprit. I don't think that's what it means.
The detective is bound to declare any clues which he may discover. There are multiple times where Erika just comes up out of her ass with something that she didn't mention before, and is only relevant because Battler like says something that they think could I did
this. I did this. Took a bunch of chemicals from Kinzo's study and like performed full fingerprint analysis on the entire mansion. You can't use mysterious
chemicals that require long explanations. Right, she just grabs chemicals from Kinzo's study. She also invents duct tape.
It's the 80s.
Duct tape didn't exist back then.
I want to defend the chemical thing real quick. I think it's perfectly, and you're never going to hear me defending Erika, but I think it's perfectly reasonable because she does mention various chemicals that are real and do exist, like aluminum powder.
For my money on this bit, it's like the whole point of Erika is that by design, nothing that she is doing is outside of those Nox's rules. Like, Caelum, as you're listing these, we're sitting here, like, teasing or, like, you know, disproving your disprovings. But, like, I think it's a really important point to bring up, because the whole point of her character is that, like, she is pushing the boundaries of what these already somewhat, like, not, like, obscure to a bona fide mystery person, but, like, these otherwise unknown rules. She is pushing them to their absolute limits of what they can mean. Like, you can't use a supernatural entity, but if I did an inhuman amount of work to prove this thing, then I could get my bonus supernatural entity to say it in red. Like, the whole point
if I literally
is that, like,
don't
she is almost cheating. It's like the Warhammer 40k, like, rulebook person. Like, I can set up my units anywhere, right? So I'm going to put them all along a line on the other side. And doing that, she quote-unquote wins the game by pushing the rules, but it's like intentionally narratively by design that she is pushing the boundaries of these, like, oh, come on, she's allowed to use those chemicals. Oh, come on, like, she's allowed to just, like, stand there and say that she can do these things. Of course she can, because that's what mystery is. But it's to further infuriate what mystery is. And it's sort of, all of this is, like, counterpointed with the conversation much later between Battler and Delaenor about, like, what is the purpose of Nox's rules. So I'm glad you bring this up, because she is totally a fucker about these.
Nox is 6, and I pulled up the Umineko wiki this time, so it's the official translation. It is forbidden for accident or intuition to be employed as a detective technique. Literally all the things she does are just her, like, doing insane shit because of her intuition.
It's also my only other thing is it's been proven that Battler sucks at fighting against holes in his opponent's arguments up until the very, very end hidden tea party. So he's just fucking eating all of her bullshit blue truths because he's like, well, shit, I can't say anything. That truth sure is blue.
Yeah, Battler's that guy who takes 3 hours to come up with a comeback. Except for this, in this context, it's 5
literally
episodes.
He has to die and come back to life in order to fucking
shit. I just thought of the sickest thing I could say, and then he lifted off the ground.
Yeah, so the point I want to make is that one of the interesting facets of Erika is she's so fucking full of shit, but not just in the obvious ways, but also in the subtle one where she doesn't follow the rules that she espouses, just point blank, she doesn't.
She follows a very specific letter of them, which both Bernkastel and Lambda Delta, the two fucking witches, the highest level witches, allow her to get away with, because unlike Erika, they don't care at all about the mystery, but like Erika, they
want to see fucking Beto die.
They do not care about love, about any of the interiority of these characters. They care about having fun. They care about not being bored. And you know what's not boring is accusing Natsuhi of having committed adultery with Kinzo.
I think that's so fascinating. I don't know if we want to get into that now or ever, but I do kind of want to talk about it.
I mean, I think it's very interesting. Fictionality is so important in episode 5. And it's been kind of floating around the edges, but here, here the Answer Arcs is pulled to the forefront. And Bernkastel and Lambda Delta as both the fakest, but also in some ways the realist characters, the characters who exist on the highest plane of reality with the most power, we might understand them as people who happen to be picking up a mystery novel with these characters, Beatrice and Battler, in it, right?
Yeah.
And what they care about is having a good time. What they care about is not being bored. And as long as the story isn't boring them, they'll continue to stick around. But if they do get bored, you shut the book and you throw it on a pile and you never touch it again. So to hurry us along to the end of this episode, Natsuhi is told to go hide in a specific closet by the man from 19 years ago. During that time, Hideyoshi enters the room that the closet is in and dies, and then Erika catches Natsuhi trying to escape from the scene of the crime, and Erika, uses her fucking detective powers to call everyone to the parlor and to say that it is time to solve the mystery. And literally, time advances to the very end, and we get to the, midnight answer session that Beatrice established at the start of episode 4 would happen. And Erika painstakingly builds her case that Natsuhi is the culprit of this game and can be proven to be the culprit of all games. Battler finally catches up with the present and is allowed to play and fucking totally eats it and dies.
Dies anyway.
He even says, it's not about denying Erika's truth. It's about being able to establish a different truth.
I'm sorry for constantly talking about Erika. I'm not sorry, actually, but I'm going to do it anyway.
This is your job.
Yeah, I have prefaced every part of the planning for this episode that I'm going to talk about Erika for at least 2 hours. And we're 2 hours and 8 minutes into this recording so far, so I think I've done a good job. So something I am fucking fascinated by this, and I think is such a cool thing to look into, is the fact that Erika very intentionally manipulates the way she does her clue finding, right? The way that she the method in which she searches every room and down every hallway to have this one specific conclusion about Natsuhi. She went into it with this conclusion and built her entire evidence around it.
And of course, it's even pointed out that Erika's truth relies on Kinzo existing to be the person who's moving the bodies, right? And we literally already know that Kinzo is dead. And everyone knows that Erika's truth is in fact not the truth. But Battler can't use that truth because it's a witch's truth. Battler as a human player, as a mystery player, can't use that because it is a truth from a witch. And Nox's Third, you can't use supernatural agencies as detective technique. And so he would have to, as a person on the mystery side, prove Kinzo is dead, and which is what Erika does through all of her fucking horseshit that she does. She does detective stuff, and that is elevated to red truth through her detective powers and through her sponsor Berncastle. But Battler can't do that and is killed very hard. Maybe not hard enough, but
he makes
hard.
it. He does get better.
I mean, he makes it.
Yeah.
The thing I want to talk about here is we've been given the metaphor of the TV, the brown tube, or brawn.
I think
tube?
it's brawn.
It's not a brown tube.
The brown tube.
Okay, but it could be brown.
But the metaphor of the brawn tube and the metaphor of oh fuck, not Heidegger. Hey, what's that guy's name? The cat box. Schrodinger.
Heimdinger's box. Yes.
Were you about to say Hempel's Raven?
No, Heidegger is a scientist of some sort. I don't know.
Heisenberg's meth.
Yeah, Heisenberg's box. We've been given these metaphors for the game board, and the game board as a thing that is the truth isn't yet proven on the game board. And so if the truth isn't yet proven, that means truth as we understand it doesn't exist within the confines of the game board. The game board is a place that truth is impressed upon, and that's what the mystery versus fantasy fight is. It's arguing about an interpretation of the game board. It's arguing that, the fantasy side is trying to impress like a fantasy understanding of the events onto this game board. And the mystery side, which we only really see here for the first time instead of anti-fantasy, is trying to fit the game board, I guess is another way to put it, fit it into the mold of a mystery story. And, this like literalizes the metaphor of truth as something that is like created, as something that is found, as something that is like established by humans, The classic example is like if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound, right? Like the idea that it is human perception that creates our reality, that it allows us as people to move through the world is through a truth that we arrive at, and a truth we agree upon, and a truth that we manifest ourselves, not necessarily one that exists in some kind of pre-human world. And of course, there's the obvious counterpoint to that, where you can just say, well, actually, no, that rock exists. If that tree falls, maybe it didn't register on someone's eardrums, but like the air still compressed in such a way that
the laws of physics
literally like there are certain immutable truths about the world. And Umineko knows that, because at the same time that Erika is creating her truth that Natsui is the culprit, at no point during that, even when that truth has been solidified as the truth of the game board, at no point does Natsuhi ever cop to being the person who murdered everybody. She cops to something, but she never cops to the murder. And so even Umineko's like fucking dualisms that it's obsessed with, not only does it like honor like the idea that truth is something that is like created between people, but also that truth is something, there are truths that exist. There are single truths. There are truths about the world, and what the line between those is, and how do you
meaningfully and in good, in good faith and with good intentions synthesize those two things? What is really real? What is a law of physics? And what is what everyone feels? Because the game comes to a conclusion. Erika wins. Her truth is totally sound within what she exists. And even on the game board, all of the humans accept it in like a totally tragic moment where Natsuhi is just getting like beaten up and crushed. She's like the first person to receive condemnation, to receive the ire of other humans. That isn't just like panic in the midst of murders. Like after everything settles down, she's the first one to be punished because everyone, including even Peace Battler, sort of in a passive sense, by not doing anything, they all become a part of the same truth. But like it's so fucked up and it's so wrong. It's so obviously not correct. And seeing what's happening, like it's not a representation of humanity. So that truth, that fucking law of physics that is mathematically sound, is obviously the wrong thing.
Yeah. Truth is like the word for Umineko, right? Like the idea of things being true, or of things being presented as true, but then being torn apart or being understood on a deeper level. I think the way that Umineko manages to do like this, like, I don't know, dualism, where it's about both mystery and fantasy as truths that are imposed onto the world, but also about like through all of that, there is water makes things wet, right? Like it believes in both sides of it. It believes in both mystery. It believes in like concrete facts and objective truth, and it believes in like ephemerality and in unprovable truths. And the way that Umineko starts to hear, like, if not synthesize it, then it hold both of those by virtue of actually introducing mystery, really truly hold both of those as things that are on the same level as each other. Not that mystery is truer than fantasy, or that fantasy is truer than mystery, but that both of them exist in the same level of truth at the same time. I find really fascinating. It's the thing that keeps taking me back to Umineko. It's one of the things that made me be like, I have to fucking get people together to talk about this so we can try and like wrap our heads around it, or at least just kind of all gawp at it together.
I mean, the amount of times my boyfriend hears me say anything about Umineko is honestly uncountable.
And that it manages to do all of that shit that I just said, while also being about anime sword battles. Is
the anime sword battles make it better. What are you fucking talking about?
I love how much it's about anime sword battles. I was not expecting that at all.
It's great. It's great.
Truly, as a story about stories, it's just on another level.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good.
Caelum, do you want to wrap up Erika Corner here? Your last few points?
Yeah, man, Burn Castell, huh?
Is that it?
I like that she's officially the villain. Like, we did not have a villain before this point in this game, because we were all kind of rooting for Beatrice anyway, and now Burncastle is truly just...
it is so, like, I do think their relationship is interesting. Like, the nicest thing Burncastle ever says to Erika is, "You are me," and the meanest thing she says to Erika is, "You are not me." Burncastle's entire, like, consideration of Erika's existence is just as a reflection of her, and, like, as literally just as a tool for Burncastle to use.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm very curious to see how that gets iterated on.
That's sort of Erika's perception of it,
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
though. She's totally buying into it, right?
Yeah, it's oh my god, it's terrible. Please get a room. Like, it is so fascinating that, like, Burncastle, like, appears to have crafted Erika out of whole cloth with no history before her or no future for afterwards. She is someone who exists solely to resolve, like, the mystery, like, what happens in Rokkenjima, right? And she makes someone who sucks as much as Erika does. It reminds me of when I was a kid and I made like a Sona, like, you know, like all kids do. But like, I learned what a Mary Sue was, so I didn't want to do that. So I just made like all my least favorite traits ever, and I made that my main role playing character.
Oh my god!
And that's what happened. Like, that's not what happened with Erika because they have too much in common. But it does remind me of that a lot.
Burncastle's a bad mom.
Literally.
An adorable daughter.
Haha, yay! Sends you to the fuck mines to die. I'm trying to steer clear of recap, but there is one particular point that we definitely need to recap here, which is Natsuhi's confession. She never confesses to the murders, but she does confess to something.
She confesses to a murder.
She confesses to like 2 murders.
To a double homicide.
She doesn't even fucking consider the servant she killed as a murder. Like, at any point, she only refers to it as a murder because she doesn't fucking consider her servants to be people. Absolutely. What a girl boss.
Well, it was one act that caused the deaths of 2. Is that a murder or 2 murders?
She only ruminates on regrets the child that died. Like, all of her, like, time, like, reminiscing on this is about the kid and not the fucking adult human being that also died.
Yeah. I mean, Natsuhi is definitely the mom that is painted in the best light out of any of them. I think maybe including Kyrie. But
I don't think that's
like,
true.
She's still, well, okay.
I do.
But she's still compromised. Like, and I love that Umineko never shies away from even having, like, its most sympathetic adult character have, like, just this total vileness be a part of her.
I think that's true of all the Umineko moms, is that they are all sympathetic, but they're all truly vile people. It's very cool.
Some of them are more vile than others.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I actually spent the entire 2 hours, I just completely forgot Rosa existed until about 3 seconds ago.
That's a bliss. That's honestly
I was doing
bliss.
great. I forgot about her.
We're not, okay. I'm sidestepping Rosa discourse to talk about this thing that happened. So Natsuhi, 19 years ago, Natsuhi is failing over and over again. I think it's for 5 years now. For 5 years, she's failed with Krauss to have an heir, and like doctors have no idea what's going on.
Because he busted out before he like even sticks it in her. Anyway.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, they don't know what condoms are for. And Natsuhi's tried all this shit, and like she just cannot get pregnant. She cannot get pregnant. And then one day, out of the blue, Kinzo presents Natsuhi with this child, like out of nowhere, like this child, and Kumasawa's like bouncing the kid on her thing and says like, this child is now your child. Raise this child to be the successor of the Yushiramiya family. And like to Natsuhi, this is like the ultimate sign of her failure as a member of the Yushiramiya family, as a woman. Like her whole like fucking complex about being a part of the Yushiramiya family and carrying on its legacy and being a dutiful wife and a dutiful human being. Everything crashes down around this kid. So one day, a few days after the kid has been around, she orders a servant to take the kid and go, or does she go and she has the servant and kid with her? Ultimately?
I think she goes and she has the servant kid with her.
Yeah.
But she witnesses it happen, so she has to be there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, she more than witnesses it. And like, we're told a version of this story at the beginning of the episode or kind of in the middle of the episode, where Natsuhi sends the servant and the kid away, and the servant and kid fall off a cliff, like, just while they are walking through a part of the woods. And of course, like, Beatrice dresses it up and says, I did it. I lured them off the cliff. Ha ha ha, I'm Beatrice. You don't have to worry, Natsuhi. You can scapegoat it all onto me.
Worry about it.
It's all my fault. It's not your fault. This is what witches are for. But of course, at the very end, after she's been cornered by Erika and beat within an inch of her life by fucking Ava, she admits to that she pushed the servant and therefore the servant and kid off the cliff herself, and that she thinks that this is what the man from 19 years ago, that kid somehow survived or something, and is blackmailing her and is framing her to get her to like admit that this thing happened, that she did this, and she's like, fucking crying her eyes out, and it's like, truly horrible. And that's pretty much where the episode itself ends, and then Battler says it's useless, it's all useless, and then the episode cuts and we get into the tea party and the hidden tea party.
Quick question, people with the voice acting, is it just Battler who says that? Is it our Battler? Is it the same exact voice?
It's Battler. It's just Battler. Something I think is interesting is that there are two or more characters that died by falling off of a cliff in the year 1967 on Rokkenjima.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah,
huh?
weird. Weird that would happen, huh?
That's a weirdly high amount of people who fall off cliffs and died on Rokkenjima that
year. You go out in the wilderness, these things come onto you, or you go off of things. Yeah. So this is okay. The fifth game has ended in theory. We've all finished the fifth game, so it's the answer arcs. Let's get into it a little bit.
Yeah, answer thing.
So throughout the game, we're getting, in addition to like the action of the game board, like kind of the replay that's happening, we're also getting these little asides where we go back to Battler and Beatrice and usually Virgilia in the Golden Land, and Virgilia talks to Battler kind of on Beatrice's behalf, and we get all of these red truths that tell us not so much, but also a whole lot. Virgilia says in red, Beatrice, this child, being Beatrice, this child has nothing to gain from having someone solve the epitaph. In the first place, the gold of the Golden Land belongs to this child. She had absolutely no need to make you find it for her, or to snatch it away herself. Whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, this child stands nothing to gain at all. Which, of course, Battler then logics out, like, well, if the epitaph is worth nothing, and the epitaph, solving the epitaph is worth nothing to Beatrice, and in the letter, the epitaph is presented as being equal in value to the murders, because if you solve the epitaph, the murders stop. So then...
Except for all the times it doesn't happen, but yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, well... But for speaking for Beatrice, because we know the culprit of the third game is Ava. We literally know that. Like that, we saw that happen. For Beatrice, solving the epitaph and committing the murders are equal in value. The epitaph is worth nothing, so all of the murders are worth nothing. The murders don't exist for the murder's sake. She doesn't...
Yeah, Virgilia's basically saying Beatrice, whoever Beatrice is not gaining from having the gold discovered or passing down the lineage or whatever, and she's not benefiting from the murders. She doesn't really want either of those things.
Yeah, this to quote from Battler here, that means the epitaph murders are also meaningless and immaterial. Every time she performs these bizarre serial murders, she's willing to spend an incredible amount of effort to politely send advance notice, and then kills us one by one in accordance with the epitaph, never getting exposed. So all of that is meaningless to her. All of the epitaph, this is the narration, all of the epitaph murders are like she's strangling her own neck, making it harder to succeed in the serial murder she's attempting. All for useless embellishment, all just for show, which comes back to this idea that Kyrie and Battler talk about, I think even in the first episode, like, if you're trying to kill everyone, why would you announce yourself? If you earnestly want to murder everybody on the island, you wouldn't send a letter being like, haha, I'm going to kill you all, and then very slowly kill everyone. Battler suggests 3 possible reasons for the epitaph murders. This is coming from the 7th expansion wiki's list of golden truths. I don't see a specific author attributed to it.
You said it. Can we?
Battler's list of
thing you
golden
just
truths
said.
in Umineko podcast, a podcast about Umineko.
A podcast about fucking Umineko. Jen, were you going to tell us
what?
That the name for our podcast is a real mechanic in this video
did I
game?
say that? Wait, what just happened?
Just
How did we connect to that?
You said you were reading
truths.
a list of golden truths.
Battler's list of golden truths.
Okay, well, that was a total slip of the tongue, but also, fuck you all.
And, like, a golden truth has only shown up once so far.
Yes, yeah, so the golden truth...
a list of 1.
Yeah, there's only one golden truth.
And I can guarantee that it's Kinzo's corpse.
Yeah, the golden truth is something that only the game master can do, and something that is equal in value to... that is sometimes better than the red truth, but sometimes worse than the red truth. Very
something
interesting.
That only you knew. You were the game master in our game, in the torture maze.
What could the golden truth be? That's a fun question. Anyways, what was I talking about? Basically, like, if you think about the murders, and you think about, well, if the murders are being done for show, if, like, it's not about the murders themselves, but about sending some kind of intention with the show of the murders, then, well, you would think about, well, if it's meant to show someone something, then who's the person who could it be being shown to? And, of course, the answer Battler works out to is himself, because he's the only person who survives all the way to the end every single time. Even Maria, who usually makes it, she still dies before the end. I mean, in episode 3, where Ava is the culprit, but even in
episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4, where Battler has fucking full reign of the island. Maria doesn't make it, but Battler does. He lives on that island for a full, day by himself.
Beatrice's red truth in episode 4. You and I are the only ones on this island.
Of course, I am not you. So, and her goal is not to make someone experience fear. Her goal isn't to have revenge on someone. I mean, I could read off these red truths forever, but what I want to put it to you three in the torture maze.
Hi.
I say from the control room.
Help.
These are the answer arcs. Have you, not to just ask, what is Umineko, but like...
And Umineko is a seagull.
You're so right. But like, what's Beatrice doing? Why is all of this happening?
Back during the question arc, the only goal I really had with my questioning and figuring was finding out what's literally going on. But now all of a sudden, all I care about is the motivation. Like, why is Beatrice doing this? It doesn't matter.
Rikishi's trick! It made you care!
It doesn't matter.
Rikishi's trick.
It doesn't matter if this turns out to just be a big, giant magic game that everyone's playing just to humor Beatrice, a child or whatever. Like, and it just feels like to me, what we need to figure out is Beatrice's motivation. And from what I can gather, Beatrice is trying to, I guess, make Battler repent for something?
I mean, Battler's sin of 6 years ago, right?
Aha, yeah. I have a red truth here. Virgilia, red truth, chapter 7. Her goal is not to make someone experience fear, and it isn't to have revenge on someone either.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, repentance isn't fear or revenge. So, like, clearly, she wants Battler to realize something he's done wrong and make amends, I think.
This is where it gets so twisted for me, because through the course of this episode, I developed a really strong idea of who and what for who the culprit is, who Beatrice is, that sort of thing, but the why still escapes me. I have like vague narrative shapes associated with the sort of mystery deductions I've made, but like I feel like we can't know yet. You know, if this, here's my big question. The best answer I can give your question, Jenn, is another question, which is not to deflect, but is to like, this is where I'm at with that question right now, is are Beatrice and the culprit TM, the murderer, the killer, are those two things the same people?
Beatrice would have you believe that.
A very astute question.
Beatrice's red truth, Beatrice's final red truth, Beatrice's ultimate question to Battler before she goes into fucking non-responsive mode is like, who am I? Who am I? You know, who is Beatrice? What is she doing here? That's the ultimate question, is to identify her. And from there, different things trickle down. But then, you know, what does that have to do with murdering? Literally, actually murdering 18 people. What is that in service of that identification? Is that it? Is it literally a process of elimination? Is why she's murdering these people? So that Battler can remember whatever happened 6 years ago.
I don't think that works, though.
Take some meaningful action. Not even repent, but like take an action about it. Remember and take action. Remember and act on that in some way. Is that a culprit? Can Beatrice be the culprit, especially with who I?
So okay, for your specific question of like, how does that final red truth, that final puzzle fit? I'm going to point to an earlier moment in episode 4 where Battler and Beatrice are meeting on the game board, right? And Beatrice there in her schoolgirl uniform is shouting down to Battler, "Repent for your sin," and Battler says he doesn't remember. And Beatrice in the schoolgirl uniform speaks to another Beatrice that appears, that is Beatrice in the dress. And Beatrice in the schoolgirl uniform says, "I'm going to leave everything to you. I want to leave the game board." And, you know, Beatrice in the dress acquiesces, and schoolgirl Beatrice turns and leaves.
And that's the last we see of Peace Beatrice, yes.
Yeah, and then everything from there is Beatrice in the dress.
Beatrice, sure.
Yeah. Or, well, there's definitely something happening there. Who am I is a question that is asked by a specific... remember that we know that red truth is temporal, right? Like when Lambda Delta announces that all of those, or no, it's not Lambda Delta, it's Virgilia and Beatrice. When Virgilia meets Peace Beatrice on the underside of the chessboard in this episode and says, all of these people are surely dead, and says, yes, if anyone were to look at these corpses, they would certainly be dead. And no one would mistake that these corpses right here are dead. And Battler uses that to show that that red truth is being delivered after the moment of the quote-unquote corpse's discovery, right? Mm-hmm. So red truth is both temporal, and red truth is, it's very easy if you understand the nature of red truth to twist it, to ask specific questions, and to make people assume certain truths that maybe you're not actually saying. Or to make people make assumptions about who's present. Or make people make assumptions about the current state of the game that are in fact not actually true. Who am I think has, of course, like a lot of thematic resonance for fucking Beatrice's whole thing, but also is a specific question that is being asked at a specific time on the game board.
Oh god, this is terrible news. This makes everything even more confusing. That didn't help at all, Jenn.
Well... Look, you want answers? I didn't say the answers would be illuminating.
We got 3 more answer episodes.
We do have a few more answer episodes.
I'm sure we'll have an answer eventually.
I'm trying, this is genuinely, this is not me, this is me trying to be more forthcoming. And I know it doesn't fucking feel like it, but I swear to God.
It's not information, but it's fucking me up. Oh no.
We learned a lot about Beatrice. We learned that I think we're all kind of past me saying this. If you assume Battler is correct in his reasoning, like I think we all as readers are at a place where we know we're at the point where we can accept the heart of these scenes, right? Where we can see the love in these scenes.
Yeah.
And furthermore, like, everything that Battler comes to understand about the game, and that Virgilia kind of goes, I don't know. Virgilia even comes out and says directly to Battler, Beatrice wanted you to solve it, so she made this game, the riddles of this tale, solvable. This comes after a very long discussion about the nature of Nox's Decalogue with Delanor, who comes to the Golden Land and is like, hey, sorry I was such a dick, you know, Erika, she kind of sucks, I'm just doing my job. I don't even like the way she's using the Decalogue. You know, the Decalogue in Delanor's view exists as something to allow people to play mysteries and allow people to think about mysteries. Going with this whole theme of fictionality and stories and narrative and stories as things that exist as a medium, right? Like literally as like a something through which something is conveyed, as a thing through which an author puts something and a reader can take something, and that a story is something that exists in between two people. You know, Delanor says that the Decalogue exists to facilitate that relationship, not to make the reader like some kind of metagaming perfect victory kind of player which she abhors, which, you know, is a shot across the bow at a particular kind of mystery story and a particular kind of mystery reader. That in fact, even in the Decalogue, one of the rules, I think it's Nox's 8th, which is that the mystery cannot be solved with clues that are not presented. You can read that from the author's side too, from the author, from the game master, from the writer's side too, which is that the person constructing the tale has to put clues in so that it can be solved if it is a mystery story, if it is going to be a mystery story. And Virgilia finally comes out and says, yes, this game, Beatrice made this game to be solvable. And not just that, but Beatrice wanted Battler to solve it, which of course is the final like thing that gives Battler the strength to, you know, in the most direct to the audience, like you were saying earlier, fucking say, please go back through the tale and take the things you have learned and take the Decalogue and take all of these crutches and things and trust that it can be solved, and that, well, maybe this is kind of more up to the reader's perception, but that solving it has value. I'm kind of just like fucking like vamping right now, but this is the closest we've gotten to Beatrice's heart so far.
I think that Beatrice wants Battler to believe that she exists. You know, the thing that she said that her motivation is.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna needle you here. Why would someone want that?
Okay, we're in a fucking call of trans people. Jenn, why would someone want to be validated in one's existence?
Yeah, it feels good to be. It is good to be acknowledged, right? But like, so then, if that is the reason that Beatrice is doing it, Caelum, if what you're saying is true, I want to ask a question that I think comes from that. Why would Beatrice want that?
I think that is the next question. I don't have an answer for that.
Even more pointedly, does that mean that Beatrice does not have that recognition?
Not from Battler.
Oh, no.
That could be Battler's sin.
Anna's turning into the Joker right now.
My life is over.
Beatrice trans.
Beatrice transgender.
I've been saying it, first of all, and second of all, I've been saying. Oh,
I'm not. I am going to default back to my usual statement of I'm not saying that is true. I am saying that if we get a lot of tools, like we get the Decalogue, we get all these red truths, we get things that are very material, but we get a tool I think that's easier to miss, which is that it is good to think things through, and it's good to ask the question that comes after that statement and see if the answer continues to be in accordance with what you do already know.
Please live. You've got 3 more episodes to read.
Hysterical. I'm hysterical over here in the most literal definition of the word.
I know, Anna, you have your.
I have one more question. Would answering a question such as that, either the question you just posed, Jenn, would Beatrice have a reason for wanting that sort of thing? Does that count as the because my main hang-up so far is I am crushed by the details. We don't even have time to get into it, but the things I've been wondering are like, which game is real? all of these were theoretically written as letters and put out into the world. Which was real? Were any of these real? How is this being communicated? Which people are still alive? Is Battler in an afterlife situation with this other person who is Beatrice, who is also inevitably in an Oh, no. It's bad news. These are all horrible questions that are answering themselves to me as I ask them. But like there's so many questions I have still about the mechanics of this game and the details of it. But like I can come up with something shaped like a motive, but like I can't be like, this happened in this person's past. I can't social psychology mystery,
Right. Totally.
I don't have all of the pieces of their backstory. I don't have the culprit's monologue, I don't have the why to that degree. I just have something shaped like a motive. Does that count as why?
One, to beat this dead horse a little bit, Ryukishi's official stance is that if you come to an answer yourself, then that is good enough.
It ain't for me.
Okay. Setting that thing that I have to say aside, I'm fucking like walking the tightest of ropes right now.
The clock strikes 8 and Jenn says, "You idiot," and fucking fades away and disappears into the void forever.
Which is never reform, I say, like crying through my fucking teeth. Having the shape of something can still be useful, because we still have 3 more books to go, right?
It's another big question for
what's left?
What the fuck is left? At what speed are these fucking answers gonna come rolling in? Because there's only so much.
I bet Erika's coming back. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, we do literally know what's next. Is Battler is going to become the game master and prove that he understands Beatrice's mystery by fighting Erika.
I'm so interested in what the game board is going to look like for 6. I just have I have a general idea of like what the meta world conflict is going to be. It's Battler and Erika. Ben hate to see a girl boss winning, etc. But I just have zero idea what the game board.
The fucking like intro paragraph for the 6th game, which I just looked up before this. I literally forgot the title now. I just moused over it. It's like the like preview thing. I haven't started it all, I swear to God. And it's just what's in the game. This isn't like anything from online.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it at the end of this episode anyway. I can go ahead and tell you all unless someone has an objection.
Please go ahead, because I feel like that answers some of that question.
Just being a prick for fun.
The next episode 6, is Dawn of the Golden Witch. Very, very juicy, coming immediately after end of the Golden Witch.
Ooh, like a phoenix, the Dawn of the Golden Witch.
I mean, Anna, I'm going to try and tackle a few of your questions. Are the games real? What games are real and what games are fake? Like, there were 2 message bottles
that were found, yes.
Yeah, that were found, yes. To try and to use a metaphor I hope gets through, like, when you play Super Mario Brothers and you go through a game one specific way and then you turn that game off, you turn it back on and you play through it a completely different way. Which one of those playthroughs is real?
There was a point in this episode where the other pieces were trying to give Beatrice an out, being like, just go for the plea bargain, which is what they were calling it, and you can live and be fine. But then Beatrice was like, but then what would happen to this Natsuki? And specified concern for this specific Natsuki from this specific game board from this specific fragment. It sounds like the idea is that all of them are real in their own way.
Yes, yeah, like literally the superposition of truths, right? This goes back to Higurashi, where the like concept of the fragments, the kakera, first comes from. But basically, if we assume it works the same way it does in Higurashi, which we don't necessarily have to, but to just use that as a base, to use that as a crutch, each of these worlds like goes on and continues to exist after the span of time that is the game board. And so, like, in a way, like, none of them is more real than another. They're all just in the same way that no playthrough of Mario or no playthrough of Dark Souls or no playthrough of whatever is more real than another. They are all possibilities that are contained within the rule set that is the game that you're playing. So, like, the point of Umineko, I mean, literally, this is, like, told to us in multiple books, including this one, is, like, going back through every single tale and seeing the riddles and using the knowledge that we've accumulated so far, like literal, like the unshakable red truth that we've accumulated so far. And here's one. I've been wanting to like poke this at someone, but it's but I haven't fucking gotten to yet. So here at the end of episode 5, I'm going to pose a question. In episode 2, for the second Twilight, Canon and Jessica both die by Beatrice's hand in Jessica's locked room, right? And Canon's corpse has disappeared. All that shit happens. But setting all of that aside, if you look at where each of those, every character that is not Canon and Jessica and Beatrice, I guess, is at that moment, I don't remember if they are sent by Rosa or if they just go themselves, but Genji and Shannon are going to talk to Kinzo to tell him what is going on, right? That's what they say. We know that to be literally untrue. We know that they can't be doing that because both of them know that Kinzo is dead.
Oh, lies down on the floor.
So, like, what were those two doing? This is a kind of reasoning that you can take through all of Umineko at this point. Even literally only using Kinzo. Like, and not to speak of like a million other things you can start to think of and maybe start to piece together.
We loop back around to Izzy was right.
Izzy was right. Well, we'll see how right you were. We have a whole 3 books to see how right Izzy was. Everyone, you know, the way here's another one of my fucking tiresome metaphors about truth. Right now, everyone has like all of the stars in the sky, right? You have all of the points of data. I have heard like specific people bring up specific things in this episode that make me know that between even just the 3 of you, not even counting Madeler, you all have like everything you need to solve it. Not just you have everything you need like it's in the book, but like you have it in your brain. Like you know all of this stuff. You've thought about this
rolling
before.
around this Rubik's Cube.
So it's just about finding which of the stars connect to each other to form the constellation. Maybe star A connects to star B, which star B you think connects to star C, but actually that one connects to star Q. And like this star connects to this star, and like I think Anna is literally experiencing this in real time. As you begin to find fragments of the puzzle that go together, the whole thing begins to come into focus.
The puzzle becomes easier to solve the more pieces
literally
you put down. Fucking fuck. Well, here we are.
Yay! Here we are.
The start of the answer arcs, the end of the learning.
I have called episode 5 the point of no return, because I think at this point, nothing is spelled out to you, but you have ample clues and ample, like, so many different tools and so much different knowledge to start to piece things together yourself. And the answer arcs continue to be answer arcs after this, so we'll certainly see what happens.
We're really in it now.
We're in it.
We're in it now, Beatrice. Oh, Beatrice. We don't have time right now, but I want to let it be known that I'm ready to solve Clue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got your little notepad all checked off.
I pick up the envelope and I say my stupid thing and I open it up and then I explode. That's where I'm at. I made it.
After finishing episode 5, it was the first time I actually felt motivated to reread the question arcs, because I was like, I actually feel like I can maybe do this.
At least I'm going back through the wiki and reading through the mystery summaries, at least, because I'm.
Can I ask you something? Why do you feel motivated to go back?
Part of it is because it felt like Ryukishi looked me directly in the eyes and said, "Please try." And a lot of this episode is about telling us and saying the battler that, and it explicitly made an equivalency between death and not thinking anymore, saying that this person is is dead because they're not thinking, and because they're not thinking, they are dead. So if they begin to think, they'll be back to life, and that's why Battler came back. And I was thinking about I was coming up with big theories, but I had honestly just thrown away even the thought of trying to solve a lot of the more nuance, which is a lot of what you were telling us way back in the day. And
pounding on my floor. And
something that really helped, honestly, was just the extra tool of the crutch of the Decalogue.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Because I was still thinking so much about Devil's Proofs and stuff. And then this one was stop thinking about Devil's Proofs. Shut up about Devil's Proofs.
Don't just try to disprove Beatrice, try to prove something else. Yeah. But like an author can put that kind of appeal into a book, like any mystery novel can do that. Literally every mystery novel does that, if you accept the detective proclaiming it's time to reveal the murder as a sort of signal to the reader to, you can solve this by now. But why did you go back? Like not just because he asked you, but what was that? Why did you believe him?
I don't know. It just, his writing feels so earnest. Like, it's one of the few times I could really feel the author behind the work. And I've been with this guy for 5 books now.
Literally,
yes.
Year.
And it just feels like I would be doing a disservice if I just went on to episode 6 and was just like, well, whatever. Like, it feels like the medium itself, I would be enjoying it more if I went and tried again. And I believe Ryukishi, because at this point, I don't feel like Ryukishi's trying to pull the rug out from under me.
Mm-hmm.
He's finally earned your trust.
I do trust him. I trust him, and we have this relationship of trust now, and I want to go back and solve it because I just feel like I can trust that it's solvable.
Yeah.
Get Ryukishi. I love Beatrice. I fucking care about her so much. This whole time I've believed in magic since the start. Now I don't believe in magic anymore, but I want to know who she is and what the fuck she was thinking and what she needed. You know, I want to help her. She needs to be helped, and I need to reach her this way. Now that I know that I have the tools, and I sort of felt this way after episode 4, but at that point I was truly too flavor blasted. Like, now, being refreshed, having a moment to breathe, being given these extra tools and this insight, like, I have to help her. I have to know. You know, I'm invested now. I'm the reader. I'm the player now. I'm not watching Battler play. I have to know.
I would like to thank
I care her.
Ryukishi07 for giving me Erika. Thank you.
Evil. Oh.
God bless.
Yeah, this whole exchange between Delanor and Virgilia and Battler is literally just them kind of musing on the idea of mystery novels. Like, it truly gets, like, in your face meta, like, about the idea of, like, what does it mean to write a mystery novel? What does it mean to create a puzzle that literally exists to be solved? You know? What is it to play a game with someone else? Why would you do that?
For some reason, at this point, I just feel like if I continue, it'll be like if I just shrugged and said, I'm just going to look it up on the wiki.
And I think there is a point where you will, like, feel it. Even if you don't have all of it, and even if the things you do have are not fully correct, like, you know, writing something to be solvable isn't just, in a work like Umineko, is not just about, like, giving you the clues to the mystery, right? This is a mystery, not just about, like, how were the murders take place and why did they take place, but, like, the why is so big and expansive and tied up in this person we know so much and so little about, Beatrice. So, you know, the clues that are inside of the narrative are not only about, like, the literal mechanical murders, the logic puzzle of it all, but that emotional mystery of who is this person and why did she do this and what is all of this.
Without love, it cannot be seen.
Oh, and we're about to see so much. Thank you all, everybody. Should I sum up okay, so the end of this episode, I mean, I've already said it, but the Battler wakes up. Beatrice dies is the thing I wanted to say, is that player Beatrice finally, like, really, truly dies. And Battler, of course, revives just in time to see her, like, fucking final golden butterfly fading away.
The real Romeo and Juliet moment.
Yeah, it's pretty tragic. But then instead of killing himself, Battler has an epic anime fight and becomes the endless sorcerer and challenges Erika, etc., etc. But I wanted to make sure I got out that Beatrice dies in this one and everything that we were just talking about. End of the Golden Witch, and after that comes the dawn. I guess. Dawn of the Golden Witch, episode 6, will be happening next time on Golden Truth, the Umineko podcast. Thank every single one of you for showing up. Always a pleasure. And you know, letting my stupid bit drop. The half a year it's been since we've done this. I'm very glad to get to do it.
Yeah,
again.
I have missed doing this podcast so bad.
Oh, yeah, fun.
Next one has to be next month because I can't wait.
We're in it. We're as I've said before, we are circling the drain now. There's nowhere to go but in. Really quick, we did get a couple of emails. We don't have time to get into them necessarily right now, but I did want to give a couple shout outs to Keyshawn, Kieran, and Victoria, who all sent emails that I did not reply to, so I wanted to shout you out on the podcast. We got a question of if we would do like a post episode 8 episode. We will. I'm not entirely sure what that will be.
Well, there's
there's
like a second half of Tsubasa that we could cover.
Yes, yeah, literally, we'll definitely be covering that stuff. It might even be a couple episodes. I don't know. I don't know what the form will be, but we will be doing a couple of wrap up episodes at least. After episode 8, definitely. There's too much to talk about. We couldn't not do that. You can find us on @GoldenTruthsPod on Twitter and Tumblr. You can find us now on YouTube. If you search Golden Truths and Umineko podcast, we're on there. If you're a fucking sicko that listen to podcasts on YouTube. No, we love you. You
Nice.
can send us emails. You can send us emails at goldentruthspod@gmail.com. If you would like to get your name on the show, and maybe if we eventually have time, we can talk about one of them. And you can see everything we do at goldentruths.net on the internet. Caelum, where can people find you?
You can find me at Twitter at Hivum. That's HIVE2M. That's it.
Wahoo! Isabelle, where can people find you?
Hi, I'm Izzy Timestream on pretty much everything. I mostly just use Tumblr. You might, if you're lucky, see me streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Izzy Timestream, but I haven't streamed in a while. I'm on hiatus right now until my life gets back together.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you can follow me on Twitter at Kebs with 4 Bs, KEBBBBS, or on Tumblr at Daihenshin, DAIHENSHIN.
Bye, everybody.
You can't find
And Anna, you can find on the floor crying.
Just crumple up a piece of paper, throw it to the wind, and scream Anna's name, and you'll find her.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time. And thank you to Matt, even though he's not
Matt.
here.
Sometimes I still think I hear his voice.
We miss you so much. This time around, I can't wait to hear what you think, Matt. We need to know.
There are so many times in this episode where I was like, Ryukishi is reaching through the screen and grabbing like Matt by the collar of his shirt. And I wanted to hear,
like that, didn't it?
Yeah, and I want to hear his reactions to this so badly.
We love you, Matt. We're ready for you to come home.
We're very ready. Until next time, sleep peacefully, my beloved witch, Beatrice. All right, does everyone have time.is open?
No.
Open.
Okay,
Does
I
everyone
have it
have
now.
it open?
Yes.
The dirty,
No,
I'm talking at RP.
I'm so excited. This is my favorite part.
Fuck, daylight saving time ends this Sunday.
Yeah, it does. Everyone, please enjoy your extra hour of sleep. I know I will.
Everyone enjoy the pitch black fucking darkness.
Ugh, yeah.
I mean, sun's setting at like 5 here now, so
Just the worst. I can't stand it.
fucking blows. Anyway.
Positive energy, everybody. It's time to record a podcast.
Yay! Daylight
Yeah.
saving time.
I'm
I love
sorry,
to
I'm so
save. I love
tired.
the day, and I love light.
I also
Um,
love light.
Good, because all of those things are in this episode somewhere, probably.
What?
There's definitely sunlight.
No way.
There's someone gets saved in this episode. Someone comes to Jesus in this episode.
Yeah, someone gets crucified this episode.
Wait, what? Wait a second.
Did we all read the same episode?
You
No.
don't remember the part where Delanor says, I am now making a profession of faith in Jesus Christ, One true Lord and Savior.
It's so moving.
My father, God.
Okay, is everybody recording? Is everybody on time.is? We ready to clap?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
we're gonna clap on 10, 15, and 20.
Okay.
Wahoo!
Did everyone else mute their mics?
No, Discord just muted me. It does that.
I think Discord does the thing where if your noise is too loud, it auto silences you, which is fine.
I have my noise
suppression
on.
Clapping.
Yeah, I was clapping, and you'll be proud. I only clapped the prescribed 3 times.
I clapped 4 times.
This is the power we are afforded with Matt's unfortunate absence, is we can just have 3 claps and be done with it.
Chaos abated. Yes.
Matt and I, our energies really bounced off each other, and we encouraged each other's bullshit. So you're gonna get a serious Izzy.
Oh yeah.
I'm so scared at what that means.
Yeah. All right.
About to learn.
Okay, and with that fun transition, we're also taking a break right now.
Oh, it's a break. Is it break
time?
Yeah,
but the shoelaces, but the shoelaces.
We're perfectly through. What?
Nothing.
Shoelaces.
I got them from the president.
Okay. We're exactly halfway. We're exactly halfway.
I forgot.
All right, I'm gonna go feed my cat.
Yeah, definitely. We're halfway through recording, so this just makes sense as a place to cut it.
She has been. Yeah. I closed my door so she wouldn't cause problems, and she has instead been hitting my door meowing. And you definitely can't hear it over Discord, but you can absolutely hear it in my recording. It's very funny. She hasn't been doing it while I'm talking, at least. But I'm gonna go feed Dolphin. We're back.
Yay.
So yeah, Dwayne is the best new character.
I do love her. Totally. There's lots of
more than Erika
moments I like with her. I like what she says. There's so many moments. I want my fucking moments list, but I'm not gonna take our time doing that. I love when she says fucking I also hate Erika. She just fucking says that.
Yeah,
not in any complicated way. She just puts that out there, and then she goes and kills Battler for Erika. Ugh, good.
Yeah, totally. Putting the person who is the personification of the rules of detective fiction, saying I hate the way this person is playing, has a very particular resonance to it.
I love what she has to say about fucking magic. That's maybe worth touching on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Part of the end when we get down there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm also stepping up. I will be back in a moment.
I'm gonna put this in the middle of the podcast. This is Izzy's time. Marie is the best character of all time in this episode. It's a bunch of hooey. This one sucks because Maria's she has 2 lines. It's garbage. Yeah. And Beatrice doesn't get much either. I mean, Beatrice has a lot of really... Peace Beatrice gets a lot, but regular Beatrice doesn't get a lot, and it's really the best characters are being a little shafted right now, but I'm sure it'll get better. Maria's the greatest! Erika's so pitiable. What a pathetic person.
There are so many good... I'm gonna... At the end of this episode, when frickin' Jenn throws it to me for my screed, I'm gonna frickin' steal the floor to say all of the scenes that I really liked. Just super quick, rapid fire.
Oh yeah.
You should do that too. You should jump in.
Me?
I feel there's so many cute moments. Just cute moments. I don't know.
Oh yeah, okay. I have some favorites.
Yeah. I think it's
most of them
worth because we don't get into the flavors. We got so much to talk about. There's
so
much flavor in this.
There's a lot of meat.
There's a lot of meat. The crispy fat on the outside is the most delicious part.
That's
all the
true.
Good stuff. It's all the good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of great moments in this. We always talk so much about the content, and I'm just but the cute shit.
what about when this thing happened? What about when this sad thing happened? What about when this funny thing happened? I like it. Thank you for coming to my podcast.
What about when this character showed that they were an entirely respectable person? What about when this character was horrible?
Yeah. Literally, that's my version.
The Anna Izzy power hour, where all we do is talk about the cute moments.
I'm back.
We just fucking gush.
My roommate was in the kitchen, so I explained what Umineko is to him.
Did you say Umineko no Nakakori really fast?
No, I said Umineko when they cry.
Every time I talk about Umineko to anybody, I make a point to say it Umineko no Nakakori very fast, because I think it's very funny.
If I think someone is never going to check it out or look more deeply into it, I'll just call it When the Seagulls Cry.
That just makes me stupid.
One of my partners was literally is learning Japanese, and she was like, wait, oh my god, so is this book about cats in the sea? And I'm like, it's literally called by the fandom, it's called Sea Cats. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yes, it is that. It's a deep, it's deep.
It's also not enough Japanese to realize that Umineko, Sea Cats, is the name for seagulls.
No. that's where she's at. This is not to drag her. She's doing great. She's learning.
Japanese is really hard to learn, to be fair.
She's using multiple apps, This is now a partner gush.
Yay! I love to hear that.
Again,
I gave up on my one app I was using for Irish because I decided it sucked, and I just joined a Irish language Discord where everybody talks in Irish. I'm doing that instead.
Nice. Are you learning much faster?
I'm too afraid to talk, but I will lurk and read what they say.
Yeah, I feel that.
That helps.
Yeah, it is helping a lot more with real world use of it instead of the academic stuff I'm learning.
Yeah, freaking sit down with a newspaper and a dictionary at the library shit,
Yeah, classic.
That's the freaking modern day version.
Plus I know how to say things like, what is this word in Irish? And that helps. Did you know the word for word in Irish sounds like fucker?
Fuck yeah.
You picked good.
Yeah.
So what is it?
It's
say it.
Fuckle.
Fuckle.
Don't fuckle with shuckle.
My pronunciation is so bad. I don't want to be wrong.
I'm gonna find.
But dictionary is fucklore. And there was a pretty popular podcast about learning Irish that was called Motherfuckler.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm ascending.
It's so good. People.
It's good.
Fuckler was the name of that guy the Tumblr thought was sexy, right?
Please,
Spamton.
Yeah, Spamton.
Fuckle cest. Yeah, that was my favorite.
Okay, and with that, I'm starting the episode.
Let's get back to
I want to ask you a question real quick, Jen, before we start the episode. I presume you played Metroid Dread?
Oh yeah.
Is it good?
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. I really, really, really didn't like Samus Returns, and I have to say, after playing Dread, I have to eat my inborn gamer rage that I want to access, because actually, it's pretty good.
Okay, cool.
It's really good. It's totally worth it.
I played the demo, and I was like, this is amazing, but I just wanted to get some on the ground reporting done before I decided to buy it.
I love it when people.
There's a particular kind of Metroid snob, I can tell you. Metroid Dread, pretty good.
Yeah, most people I know that like Metroid, like Metroid Dread. We should start a Metroid Dread podcast.
All right.
I'm there.
Welcome back to Metroid Truth.
Metroid Truth. What is
a Samus Aran podcast?
A podcast about
Samus
Aran
is Jewish. I'll say it in red.
Okay, so we're picking up from right about here. We've covered a few of these things through the thing. Do you think Izzy, you had that you wanted to talk more about the relationship between pieces and players. Do you want to hit this for a little bit?
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because we have like a little under an hour and a half left. That's real, Caelum. I want to make sure that we get to the meat of it all.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then okay, fuck. What did you say, Anna? Get back to talking about Umineko. I can take from that.
Shoelaces. Let's shoes.
Shoelace.
What?
What? What did I say?
What were you talking about?
Relationship between pieces and players, part 2.
But what was shoelaces about?
Tripping over one's own shoelaces is a violation of Nox's Decalogue.
Let's get back to failing to solve mysteries and talking about rules for doing that.
Oh.
That's what I said.
Welcome back to Golden Truth.
Welcome back to gaming.
Man.
Let's get back to talking about Umineko.